Hello, hello, hello. One more hello, filter-free America listeners. How you doing? You guys doing good? You hanging in there? You guys having a wonderful day today? That's good. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad that none of you were abducted by aliens. I'm glad that none of you fell in a well, like got stuck in. That doesn't happen much. Remember that? Like it was like really weird. Like in like was it like the late '90s when like there was lots of incidents of kids and people falling in wells? Do you remember that? That doesn't seem to happen as much anymore. I don't know. I can't think of a specific story, but I remember. God, it seems like it was in Texas or somewhere, and like a kid fell in a well, and there was like a baby kid, and it was like for like days maybe because it was like maybe like a narrow little well hole, and they had to like dig like a hole off to the side of the hole and come in to get. I can't remember how I was rescued. I could just be making this up. This could be some weird memory creation in my head that never really happened. I don't know. Did it happen? I don't know. I swear my brain tells me that it happened, that some kid was trapped in a well, and it was a big story, and it was national news, and people were going crazy about well baby, right? They didn't call it well baby. That's what we do now, right? Like, you got egg boy, and you don't ever use the person's name, right? You associate whatever the action that they did or object that they did with the action, and then put it before boy or girl or whatever, like egg boy. And I don't remember them calling it well baby, right? Which that would have been cool though. That sounds a little mean though. Like, oh, dude, well baby was in a well, and well baby got arrested. I'm already off track on this episode already. And it's just the introduction. See, that's how my brain works. My brain goes and I push record on my little magic Zoom box, and then my brain starts generating shit that I shouldn't be talking about when talking about this podcast. But that's just the way it is. You have to deal with that. You have to deal. This is the price of admission. The first 10 to sometimes 20 minutes, if I ramble long enough, of this podcast is literally just the price of admission to hear the interesting part, which has nothing to do with me. It's always the guest that you guys want to listen to. So for that, I apologize. But this is cathartic for me. I can't even spell that word, but I know how to use it. It's cathartic for me to turn on a microphone and just talk. And I'd like to think that helps my stand up as well too. To just come in without a plan. Like I don't have notes, right? I don't have notes for anything that I'm saying right now, right? I didn't write on a piece of paper, talk about well, baby. I didn't do that. I just pushed record. And I'm trying to think of a little funny something to say about how we always come together at this podcast. It's kind of my shtick, right? And then fucking well baby popped in my head. And I don't even know if that's a real story. It is a real story. I know it. I didn't make that shit up, right? Well baby. I don't know. That would be a cool guess. Like, where is well baby now? Like, what is well baby doing? Right? Would it be like weird if like well baby? I'm pretty sure it was a girl. I don't know if it was a girl. Whatever. Right? I wonder what well baby is doing right now. Is wouldn't it be weird if like well baby was like working in the well industry, like drilling wells, like that was just life came full circle. Like hey, I was a little baby, and now I drill wells for other little babies to fall in. That's what I do. Okay. Anyway. I'm sorry. I got my bulletproof coffee. It's not really bulletproof coffee. It's Folgers coffee. Folgers, ground coffee, but I do put the MTC oil in there and a little tablespoon of butter, and I'm fucking wired for sound. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go. Sorry. I apologize to everyone having to listen to me right now. Anyway, let's talk about the episode. Let's do that. Let's move on. Let's do something. How we got? 4 minutes, 30 seconds in here? Look at that. We're already wasting your guys' life. 4 minutes of it gone. Guest today is going to remain anonymous. Now, when we sat down to record this episode, that wasn't the plan. Okay? The person was a friend of mine, and we were going to talk about the subject, and it was going to be a public thing or whatever. But and this is the beauty of my podcast and the beauty of podcast, many podcasts in general. And trust me, it's not like I'm doing an original concept here. Um, is sometimes when you start talking, and especially in the way I do it, because if for those of you who've never seen pictures of my studio, my studio's is in my home, and it's set up in such a way that when you come and sit down, you're in a different world. Like uh, I have very eclectic tastes, to say the least. So when you sit down and you're in this decent sized room, but there's all kinds of crazy stuff. Like right now, I'm looking around my studio, and I've got like two deer heads. I didn't kill the deer myself. Not that I'm opposed to hunting at all. I would actually love to go hunting. I would love to learn to hunt. I know how to shoot, but I've never gone hunting. Like I'd love to either go harvest a deer, be a gun, or buy bow. I want to learn how to bow hunt too. But there's two of those mounted on the wall, and within their racks are two big scary guns, SKS and an AK, and there's like pictures of Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix, and there's just all kinds of my collection of skulls. I love skulls. If anybody wants to ever do something nice for me, send me a skull. A real skull would be fucking dope. A real human skull, that would be cool. Don't do anything illegal to get it, or don't tell me that you did. But just all kinds of weird shit, right? And so when you get down, and you sit down here, it affects you. You feel like you're in a different place, right? Because I've got just like an average ass home. Then you come down into the basement area here where I've got this studio constructed, and it brings you to a different world. So all that rambling of there is just to let you know that it loosens people up, right? It gets people in a different place. They don't feel like it's a recorded conversation. It becomes like a deep, intimate, one-on-one conversation as we're sitting in this room full of weird shit, right? And a lot of stuff comes out, okay? A lot of weird shit will come out, and people let their guard down to a degree, okay? And that's kind of what happened in this interview here, because the original subject was just going to be, growing up poor, right? He and I both grew up poor, American poor. Let me disclaim that right now, because people sometimes get mad about that. Well, you're poor in America, you're better than 99.9% of the world, which is true. But relative to the standards here in America, the guest and I both grew up on the lower end of whatever American standard is, all right? So we had a lot of shared experiences, and that's what we talked about. But anyway, so as we're having the conversation, and I knew that this was going to come up, and he knew that we were going to talk about this, but part of his story is talking about something that happened to a family member of his and a lot of other people within his, his poor community that he was living in, where honestly there was a bunch of rapes committed by one single person, and economics come into play. Excuse me, I've got a burp thing going on. And no, I don't edit that shit out. If you hear me choke, I just choke. Choke and die. It just gets recorded. I just hope somebody comes by to upload it. But anyway, so that happened, right? A family member of his was raped, and some other, and this was like kids, right? Like young kids, and some other people within the community were raped or molested by the same person, and he knew we were going to talk about that, and the emotion came rushing back. The emotion came rushing back to him, and honestly, I mean, it brought tears and emotion to him, and I don't think that's the reason why he wants to remain anonymous. I don't know. But I respect it. I always tell guests, hey, if you want to talk about something sensitive, or you want to expose something or whatever, then I allow you that, right? Because when it comes down to it, right, what's the value is in the conversation itself. So it doesn't matter what this person's name is, right? I mean, his name could be Bob or Jimmy or Bocephus Bloodfart. I mean, his name doesn't matter. The story is what matters, and it's a really good story. I mean, it's stuff that a lot of you are going to relate to. It's going to be maybe eye-opening to a lot of you as well too. But just be aware. That's kind of at the end of the episode when we move into that part of it about the rape molestation conversation. He definitely has an emotional reaction, and it's a very emotional moment, and I allow it to happen, and it is what it is. But again, the power of podcasting, the power of conversations, and I've probably said this before. This is why I love podcasts so much, man. It gives you this, I don't know, access to something something that we don't do much anymore, and that's just like one-on-one long conversations. Especially in how I do it here. Like I don't like to do phone interview conversations. I've done them in the past, but it's a disconnect that you lose something. You lose some of the value of the conversation, and I just love sitting across from another person and talk to them about something in their life or whatever, and you exchange ideas back and forth, and I ask questions and they share a story, and you don't get that anywhere else anymore. I don't think you do, right? I'm sure there's a small fraction of people that maybe meet up and have long conversations or whatever, but I don't know. It's a lost thing. It's not as common as it used to be because we got so many distractions now, right? We don't have these conversations, these long drawn out conversations because we're fucking playing video games or watching fucking whatever television show we're watching or sports or things like that. And while conversations are had amongst those things, how often do you sit down and talk with one person uninterrupted for an hour or 2 hours? I'm willing to bet that it's not a large amount of stuff. I mean, most people don't even fucking talk to their kids for 20 minutes, much less sit down and talk to them for a couple hours, So I don't know. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the power of what these conversations are, and it's getting to know your fellow human being, which is my whole idea for, the remodeling and relaunch of this podcast was, for me listening to other podcasts, and I was referenced on Joe Rogan, and I think he said it himself too, but it is that, right? It's this exploring humanity through conversation, right? And it's very interesting to me. I'm in, I don't know how you'd say it. I'm very curious about the human condition overall, and how experiences and the atmosphere of your life, so to speak, how it affects you and how things come into play. And I feel like I'm learning a lot by having these conversations, and I hope you are too. So if anything, just take time to appreciate that. But again, the conversation topic is growing up poor in America, of course. And we talk a lot about that, our different experiences, how we dealt with it, fun things, sad things, weird things that, looking back, like, oh, that's just doing some poor shit, and then it ends up with a conversation about him and his family growing up in this poor community, and somebody within that poor community was raping and molesting children, and local law enforcement. I'm speculating. I don't have any proof to this, but as we talk about in the podcast, when you're in the lower end economically, sometimes law enforcement aren't as active in trying to solve cases or arrest people or do things because you're politically not as valuable. I'm trying to be, I don't know, diplomatic about it. And that's probably a lot of opinion from me, but I don't know. I think it's true. But that's what we're going to talk about, okay? Growing up poor in America. What we're going to call, we got to give her, I'm going to call him Bigfoot. Because I don't think I ever say his name in the episode, right? So it's not like I'm saying, hey, name I can't say. I don't think it even comes up. So in the title, I'm just going to call it Growing Up Poor with Bigfoot, because Bigfoot will automatically draw people's attention and hopefully lead to more hits. Some weirdos who believe in Bigfoot. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I'm sorry, but I like the idea of Bigfoot. It would be cool if there was a Bigfoot. It would be cool for me to actually interview the real Bigfoot, which maybe I shouldn't do it, which maybe I shouldn't use Bigfoot as the alias's name, because one day maybe Bigfoot will be sitting across from me and we'll be talking about Bigfoot shit. But until that day, this episode is going to be called Growing Up Poor with Bigfoot. Anyway, before I go to that, also, please don't forget my sponsor, the sponsor that helps make this show happen. That is simplewebsite.us. Simplewebsite.us, and I gotta say it 3 times. Simplewebsite.us. Spit it out, dummy. Right? Simplewebsite.us, that's the place you need to go if you want help building your Squarespace website, right? Everybody knows Squarespace, right? Squarespace is supposed to be this site that you go to. It's a website builder, and you're supposed to be able to do it on your own. But guess what? I'm kind of dumb when it comes to computer stuff, right? I couldn't do it. Maybe I could have figured it out, maybe over time, many millennia, I would have finally got to a point where I was satisfied with whatever fucking shitty website I was able to create on my own with no help. But I didn't have to do that because Simple Website, these guys and gals are geniuses, right? They have explored every tool within the Squarespace building platform, and they have learned how to maximize them to their fullest potential, and they create beautiful websites for you, right? Yeah. So, for example, if you'd like to see one of their websites, just go to the Filter Free America website, filterfreeamerica.com. Filter Free America, America always intentionally misspelled with a K.com. And you will see the website that they have built and maintained for me. I don't have to do anything. I just send Ryan a message like, hey, Ryan, I want more dicks on my website. Can you put some more dicks on there? And then he'll say, are you sure you want dicks? I'm like, yeah, throw some fucking dicks on there. Full disclosure, there's currently no dicks on my website outside of my own picture. There's that dick. But whatever. They do it for me, right? And they can do that for you too, right? You want them to fucking maintain your website? Fucking throw them little cheddar, little change, little cash, and they'll do it for you. But it's not just for that, right? If you just want to go get a little help, just say you got one little issue, simplewebsite.us. Go there. Hey, I'm having a problem building my website. I got everything figured out, but this, can you help me with this? Boom, they'll help you with that. Oh, should have turned my phone off. Whatever. Somebody's talking to me. Also, you don't even have to pay any money at all because if you go to the simplewebsite.us, you will find lots of free tips, tricks, videos, things like that to help you do it on your own too. Of course, I am too dumb and lazy to do it. And I'm glad that I have simplewebsite.us to help me. Anything else I need to mention before we go? Before we go into the episode, I'm not going anywhere. Please take time to rate and review this podcast. Please, 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 please. All right? Aside from having to listen to me, the other price of admission is just going to wherever you're listening to the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed, number one, so you don't miss any of these awesome episodes. Make sure you give whatever kind of rating your platform allows. Most of them, like as simple as like, oh, I like this thing, and you put a little star. But especially if you're on iTunes, the most valuable one in the podcast market, please go there right now. Push stop if you have to, right? Push pause. Go to iTunes, whatever. Hit 5 stars and leave a nice little review. Say, Donald, I really like the podcast. Joey talks a lot in the beginning, and he talks about Bigfoot and other weird shit, but whatever. I like it, right? Something like that. Leave a rating and review. It's very helpful. Very, very helpful. And also, if I could bother you a little bit more, please go to the Filter Free America podcast Facebook page. Filter Free America podcast page, right? That's exactly what it will say. It will say Filter Free America podcast. That is the title. There's another Filter Free America page. That's an old page of mine from when the podcast was up previously that for some reason I can't get them to remove. And I can't get back into it because it was for my past account. Ignore that. Filter Free America podcast is the page that you need to go like. And there's also a way you can leave a review there too. That would also be helpful. Thank you. Thank you in advance. All right. 19 minutes wasted. So let's get into the episode. So the episode, we've already decided what we're going to call the episode. That is Growing Up Poor with our guest, alias guest that we're going to call Bigfoot. Growing Up Poor with Bigfoot right here on the Filter Free America podcast. Let's go.
All right. Start by telling me your first poor memory.
Gotta say, my first poor memory is probably like, a couple times a year the power would shut off during the summer. And then we didn't think anything of it when we were like really young. So we're like, oh, I guess we're playing 1500s again.
Right. Did your parents ever try to explain it, or did you ever ask? Like,
I don't even remember. They're pretty open about stuff now. I couldn't remember how they were back then. I mean, if they did tell us, I'm sure they're like, yeah, we're poor.
It's a bad week, kids.
Yeah.
Go play hide and seek again. that kind of thing.
hide and seek was great when the power was out.
Hell
You
yeah,
couldn't
it was.
cheat, you know.
Right. Well, the problem started coming in and was like, what did you have, gas or electric heater, water heater?
Dude, I don't know. I was like,
See, we had
yeah.
the house. I remember, getting the power shut off a lot. We had a electric water heater, and I don't have a thing about. I need to shower at least once a day, and like having cold water showers. That was probably the worst part of being poor.
yeah, no, I don't think we had. I don't think we had that because we always had hot water unless then the electricity was shut off. Then we wouldn't have
Right.
hot water. That was the shitty part about playing 1500s.
Right. That and all the diseases that you would get.
Oh yeah, no, the dysentery was
The
terrible when we played
dysentery.
1500s.
Right.
Oof.
All right. So, tell me a little bit about your childhood. I mean, just your youngest memories and things like that. I mean, before you started realizing that you were growing up economically a little different than most, or I guess not most. I guess where most of the people in this country are poor now.
Yeah.
It's a growing majority of poor people. But I mean, not everybody has, poor experiences. So what was that early years, like those first memories like, besides just the lights being turned off?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really think anything of it, when like poor people stuff would happen to us because
Right.
everyone in our
Poor
neighborhood
people
was
stuff.
poor,
Right.
So it was just, something everyone went through. But like I wouldn't say it was bad. It wasn't a bad childhood. We had a lot of fun, basically free to roam around, do whatever we want. For the most part, every other kid in the neighborhood could too. But
That's a good trade-off. It's like you can't afford video games for your
Yeah.
kids, but just go outside and
Yeah.
play. Just go.
but I
do
can
it.
go throw rocks at trains whenever the hell I want.
Hell
That's
yeah.
not a problem. As long as we were back by like dark, we were fine.
Didn't kill anybody.
Yeah,
That
and
paid
it was-
more money than your dad, so wouldn't get sued.
Yeah, just sort of like hanging out with friends and stuff goes is like. At first it started out just regular innocent like kids games and stuff. Capture the flag, but we get to use the whole neighborhood because nobody gave a shit because everyone's
Right.
poor. Games like that and take it. Yeah, and then once we got older, we started doing like a little more sketchy stuff.
Right.
Like throwing stuff off the walk bridge.
Okay, holy shit!
Down onto people.
Did you ever get busted doing any of that shit?
No, the only time I ever got busted is when we weren't really doing anything bad. We're just out past curfew. So like we'd get brought home for being out past curfew. I would get grounded for like a week or something, but never doing anything illegal. Like I only got into spray painting like a little bit.
Was it for expression, or were you just
no,
like
just being a bad
drawing dicks
yeah.
on sides of buildings?
Not even dicks. It's just the letter F and like the letter U is the one I remember doing one time when we.
I'm not even gonna spill this
Yeah,
shit out.
yeah.
My shit's just gonna be a message, like just 2 letters.
People don't even know what I meant by like what fucking letters are those?
See, it's just your young mind. You just didn't have
Yeah.
your message developed. It's like fuck this poverty
Yeah.
shit.
Like-
But it just came out F you. That's what it was.
Yeah, or it's just haha, fuck you. It's a swear word. We had to been like maybe, 4th grade doing that.
Didn't have your gang name figured out. You couldn't be like the poor boys or anything
No.
like that.
Team no lunch money. Yeah.
What was my first poor crime? Did you ever do shoplifting?
A little bit. We had a guy that we hung out with. His name was Shane. He was phenomenal at shoplifting. Like
Really?
he would leave J.C. Penney's or somewhere.
What age range is this?
They had to have been like 5th or 6th grade, and
Okay.
then I would have been like 2nd or 3rd.
What were you stealing? What were you just stuff that
Me, I think the most I did was like a piece of gum, a Snickers, and like
Okay.
a pair of socks from TJ Maxx or something. But I was like I went with people when they did bad things,
Mhm.
but I never did the bad things. I was always checking out,
You were like
or-
management. That's what you were.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was like the
You were an entrepreneur, hiring other poor kids to steal your shit for you. I did a lot of I stole toys. What age was I? I was like around 10 to 12. I remember stealing toys like GI Joes. I remember doing that. And that was like before cameras. Like my move was you just go in there and you'd like smash the blister pack and pop it open, and then kind of cup the figure in the thing and shove it in your pocket. And then as I got a little bit older and I wanted to profit off my theft, and this was like 12, 13, 14, I was really into sports collectible cards. So I'd steal packs of, Upper Deck and all this stuff and try to get valuable cards to resell. things like. Did you have any poor hustles when you were a kid trying to make
No,
money?
you should have kept that going, dude. Like you
I
could have
know.
been Jay-Z right now. That's where he started.
He was stealing baseball cards. I thought he was.
No, he's selling crack, but I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
was older than 12.
I moved up the crack eventually, but
Yeah,
didn't
you
start
kept the
early.
Jay-Z route.
Could have been doing bigger things and fucking Beyonce. That would have happened, I'm sure. Yeah, so I did that, and then I don't know. I never stole food because I was hungry,
No,
but I stole candy and shit. I did
yeah,
that.
because I was hungry. I don't like candy.
Right, that's what was stole because
Yeah.
I needed candy. Should have been stealing steaks or things like that.
No,
Yeah.
no bags of rice for your oatmeal.
Yeah.
The longest out of them.
Which is funny because as I got older, at one time in my life, I worked at a grocery store and started out in the meat department, of course, but I moved to helping on the security, like the shoplifting thing, and like they had like a cop who was like a local cop, and he would come in on his own time and then get paid to do where he'd work the cameras and all that stuff, and he taught me how to scope out shoplifters and stuff, and then sometimes we would shoplift people who were clearly shoplifting because they needed food. So that was like a life-changing moment. Like, holy fuck, I used to steal just because
Yeah.
I wanted a G.I. Joe. This person needs a steak or a piece of meat for his family. So that's
Yeah,
weird.
that's a little bit different there. Different feeling, but yeah, I don't think we ever stole food
Right.
either like that.
You mentioned doing, what was it called? You called it car shopping, which I immediately thought, oh, this must be like a story
Yeah,
about him buying his first car when he was poor.
Yeah,
Nope.
yeah, 9 years old, and that's how poor we were.
So what
So
was that like?
again, with that was, we were real young. That was you just walk around and then when I check to see if a car, was unlocked, and then take the pop or whatever, the change or
Whatever they
laptop,
have,
fireworks.
Did you ever break into a car, or was it always just open ones? Did you
Yeah,
ever-
just open. We never broke any windows or anything like that, and it was always just car doors that were open. But I remember this one night in particular when we were doing it. It was me, my brother, and then two of our friends that were in between my age and his age. So he was like the oldest one, but they all knew we all knew what we were getting ourselves into. We went to my buddy's house because we knew his parents weren't going to care if we were out all night. So we went there. We waited till it was dark and then just went walking around and checking car doors and all that.
Right. This is
And
the good old
then-
days back before cars
Right.
automatically locked. And all
Yeah.
that shit. They were in so
Yeah,
many
it's
young
like-
childhoods.
It was like late 90s, early 2000 cars. You just had to
Right.
press with your hand, But yeah, we'd walk around, check cars, and then if one was open, we'd just grab whatever was in there. But so we ended up getting caught that night. Not by the
The
police.
first night, or just
No, this wasn't the
just
first
ran-
night.
okay,
This was
okay.
just the most memorable one. We got caught that night, and
how'd you get caught? What was the?
I think my buddy's stepdad found the bag of stuff.
Okay, the loot.
Yeah, right. So then this was a few days after the fact, and we've both been, sweating. Me and my brother both been sweating for a few days, and it's a few days after now. My buddy and his stepdad come over, and then stepdad bangs the door. He's furious. I thought there was gonna be a fight between my 12, 13-year-old brother and this grown man,
Okay.
and just yelling at him I don't want him hanging around with him. He's older. He should have known better.
Right.
Yada yada yada, and it was this big thing. And then, so both the guys we were with got grounded for a couple weeks.
They didn't try to do the thing like, well, I'm going to call the cops on him, and all.
No.
No cops involved. Okay.
No, I don't know what they did with the stuff.
Okay.
I don't know what you can do with the stuff, but
Kept that shit.
yeah, no cops. And then my brother, he got grounded for the entire summer, which is like life in prison
Yeah.
for a
That
kid,
is what it is.
But I only ended up getting grounded for 2 weeks. Because what happened was when we would go out and do car shopping,
Right.
I would never personally steal from the car. I would always find a reason to check it out and be like, this
this
one's
bullshit, man. That's you're supposed to be. You're in on the crime. You're there. You're supposed to be charged to the full extent, man. That's what it should be.
yeah, that's what it should have been. But everyone thought I was a saint. Because I was just it wasn't my morals at all at the time that was stopping me from grabbing something from that car. It was me being a pussy.
Right.
And my whole family was so proud of me for not,
He's only half a
participating,
criminal. He's observing the crime.
They're like, very good self-control. We're all very proud of you.
So what was a good score when you guys? What got you guys excited when you were in there? Was it just a handful of change?
Fireworks was a pretty good one.
Yeah. That's right. Back in the day, man, fireworks used to be just everywhere.
Yeah, and better ones too.
Yeah, most
we
definitely.
we got a lot. We scored a lot of bottle rockets.
Right.
It was always in the summer, so everyone's got bottle rockets in their car for the most part. At least in that neighborhood.
Right.
Change.
Were you guys involved in any drugs at an early age? Were you guys doing any of that stuff? Were you
No,
any...
but we saw it.
Excuse me.
I remember the first time I saw it. It was like it wasn't even like a drug. So there's this kid living with us. I was in 2nd grade. He was in like 4th grade, but he was my boy. Like
Right.
he was living with us all summer. Well, actually, how it would happen usually is someone would come over, have a sleepover, and then just never leave for like 3 weeks.
Okay.
So this kid was.
Well, set the stage a little bit here about the area that you grew up in before you get too far into this, and what was the general economic scale, and what were the people you shared your neighborhood? What were they into? Give me a little bit of that.
Yeah. So my neighborhood, and so there's my house, and then right to the right of us was this nice, super religious couple.
Okay.
Like best kept yard in the whole place. Actual nice stuff. And then next to them was like another.
Were they
normal-
like the faux really religious people? Were they like they act like they're the good saints, but they're really assholes, or were they?
No, it was like living next to the Flanders. Like they were
No
legit.
shit.
Yeah. Like
They exist. I know. those
Yeah,
people exist.
no,
I
it
know.
was they were amazing people, and then
Right.
normal people next to them. Left of us was like this house where we were sure like some rapist lived,
Right.
but it was just like an old guy. He was creepy, so we're like, this guy molested.
He's got the
guys.
rapist look.
Yeah, yeah, he just looks weird, so
Right.
avoided that house. And then there's like another normal person, but across the street, pretty much everyone in that square block did like some form of like hard drugs, like the drugs that are most people's bugaboos, like meth and heroin.
As I'm hitting drugs, that was like
Yeah, but it wasn't one of the bugaboo drugs.
No.
Yeah.
That's the cool kid drug.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, were they making it? Was it just like a bunch of like scabby meth heads
No.
creeping around recycling aluminum? And
I mean, they all had their homes most of the time, so they were
Okay.
making payments. That I don't know, they must have figured out something.
so they
to
were
make
functional.
payments.
meth heads.
for the most part, except for when it came to like parenting, because like there's a lot of kids in that neighborhood,
Right.
and a lot of them, because most of their parents were doing meth,
Right.
so tough to be a good parent while you're on meth. If you're listening and you do meth and you think you are a good parent, I'm sorry, this
you're
wasn't
totally
directed
not.
at you.
You're not a good parent if you're doing that. I mean, maybe like the
Yeah.
first 2 times you're still
Yeah.
holding it together, but by meth 3,
Yeah.
you're damn near selling your kids for meth.
Like
at
one
that
time to
point,
make sure Thanksgiving's ready to go. That's a good mom move.
right?
But yeah, so like it was. So those kids were always like the ringleaders in like the stuff, the stuff
course.
we would get in trouble doing.
Because they're the most independent. They're the ones
Yeah.
like my fucking parents are methed out. I
Yeah.
have to make a fucking dinner, and I have to go to my job because my parents are.
Yeah,
eating
like
meth.
that's the real like the Matilda bring up, like how Matilda got brought up, but
Right,
it
right.
ends worse. You know,
Right. The
Ends
bad
with just
version.
shitty people.
Right. Were there a lot of like drug related crimes then? Were like
I mean, we'd see like police bus, across the street. That night that I remember from, when we were going car shopping,
right.
I think it was like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I head back to my buddy's place because I don't want to, do it. I'm not doing anything. This is sketchy. I'm a huge pussy. I want to go hang out at that dude's house. So I'm sitting outside and I see cops like driving all around the place. Like the whole neighborhood is out, just millions
Right.
of cops. Not even exaggeration. It
Right.
was just, no, I'm just kidding.
Literal million of
Yeah.
cops.
There's like 3 cops driving
They
around.
brought them in from every state.
Yeah, they really want to catch these car shoppers. So then, I was seeing cops driving around. I'm freaking out, and I can't get a hold of them because cell phones were around, but we were too poor for cell
Right.
phones.
Gotta
So-
save up and get a quarter
yeah.
and find that one phone that
Right.
still works.
So then we had to. Well, damn it, I forgot even what story I was telling. All right, I got it now.
Right.
So I go back to my buddy's place, and there's this car parked across the street, and there's just like 2 people sitting in there, right? So then I'm waiting, I'm just watching the cops, hoping I see like my brother and my friends make it back. And then the cops like pull up. There's like, so here's my buddy's house in the middle of the block, and then cop blocking off that end, cop blocking that end. I'm like losing my mind right now
Right.
because the cops are like blocking off the street I'm on.
Right.
And then they like come like
And
running,
every bad episode of the TV show Cops is running through your
Right.
head like, what the fuck
right?
is going on?
Yeah. And they're like, there's like 4 cops like walking towards the house I was in now. And I'm like on the porch, I'm like, fuck. But turns out there's like The car across the street was a crack dealer, is what it was.
Oh, okay.
They were doing a drug bust.
Okay.
They didn't care about kids stealing fireworks, you
I
know.
don't give a fuck about that. They got meth and crack to deal
Yeah,
with.
I thought they were like doing that to find me. I was shitting my pants.
That's a scared straight. You didn't even know
Yeah.
what was happening. What's the weirdest? I'm trying to think of the weirdest drug thing. When I was growing, kind of like you, like we did a lot. We never. My dad didn't own. My mom died when I was young. I lived with my grandmother till I was, like 11. Then went to go. She got sick, and I went to go live back with my dad. And he was just barely kind of holding it together. So that was kind of when I got into like some poor shit. And we did a lot of like we would rent, like co-rent with other people. Like my dad was in a band and stuff, so he knew other kind of, I say sketchy, but they were some cool, band dudes, even though they had drug issues and shit. So I remember we lived in this one house, and this was when I lived in Boise, Idaho, and it was me, my dad, a dude named Jimmy who was a cokehead, but a super cool cokehead, still holding it together, and he was still banging hot bitches, but he's doing a lot of coke in the process. So he's a cool cokehead. And then some other dude who was another band dude. But I remember it was like a weird, because it was like a big house, and like my bedroom was upstairs. Where's my dad's bedroom? I think it was downstairs. There was like 3 bedrooms downstairs. I had the one that was upstairs. But like if you came down to the bottom stairs, you could turn right into the kitchen or the left to go into Jimmy's room, cokehead Jimmy, right? And we were moving stuff in that day, right? He had already lived there in the house. We were moving stuff in, and he had and I was cutting through his room at first because the doors were open. Then as I was coming back downstairs, the doors were closed. I was like, oh, fuck it. I just walked through. And I walked through in the middle of him sitting in front of some coke. And I'm like, how old am I? I must have been 12, right? And he had like a substantial, not like Scarface pile, but like a couple $100 worth of coke piled in front of him. And it was so weird to me because he also had like stacks of Monopoly money there. And I'm, to this day, of course I didn't ask him. I'm fucking 12. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? But I think back to that, like, was he like having some kind of fantasy, like some kind of coke dude? Like I'm some kind of big coke guy, and I got these piles of money right here, and it's just it's literal Monopoly money. That's the weirdest drug-related memory I have that wasn't involving me selling drugs. But
yeah, that's particular, like
Coke
the
and
Monopoly.
Jimmy.
Like, you just hit that coke, you're like,
right,
look awesome right here.
right.
Stack of Monopoly money.
That's the only thing I can think of that even makes a little bit of sense,
Maybe he's like,
because he still had a real dollar bill rolled up to snort with. He wasn't even using that.
Like it wasn't like he was just an idiot drug dealer that didn't know Monopoly money was a thing.
I don't think he was a dealer, but I think because I think it was just, if he dealed, it was just to pay for some more coke for him. But I do remember him getting really paranoid there towards the end, and like he would like pay me money because he already had a little bit of money, so he must not have been strung out too bad. But he would pay me to go to the hardware store, and he was a former was it Army or Marines in Vietnam, and we would make like booby traps outside of the window of the house. Like I remember making like with fishing line and spray painting cans, and then putting like rocks into the cans, little trip things. So because he was worried about people coming by the window. And he wanted to hear it. It was like an early warning system.
Oh, it wasn't to mess with him?
No.
Like, you're playing with fire.
No. He was like, just, security measures for him. It was so weird. It was like one of those things, again, like it's all about perspective. When you grow up in it, this is just normal life, but when I look back on it, that was some fucking weird shit. Not everybody had a cokehead Jimmy roommate and taught you how to make booby traps because you're worried about invisible people coming to steal your coke and your Monopoly money.
Yeah, there's
I should talk about that on stage. It's funny as fuck. Now I think about it.
Yeah, there's this one time we used to prank call a lot. We'd go find the sound.
Oh yeah,
like certain soundboards, and then prank call people.
Oh,
you hit the button, and then Arnold would say like, "Run, do the chopper,"
So yeah, that's why I know you're in a different generation because we didn't have this fucking soundboards and shit. It was just like, "Dick," and then the microphone and the phone just yells something obnoxious or obscene. But then we didn't have to worry about security measures either. There was
there's a
caller ID and shit. It was just fucking late 80s.
Some people had caller ID, but most,
right.
Well, for me, when I was at that age but
yeah. Did you get in trouble for that? Did you?
No, but what happened one time was we, one of like the meth head dads in the neighborhood is probably like the most sketchy of them all.
Right.
He like, we prank called him with the Arnold Schwarzenegger one. And I remember him picking up with, he was already pissed when he picked up. Like he was on some shit, and he he was like threatening to like kill us and like just it was saying some real insane ass shit.
If
Like,
I ever get done smoking this
yeah.
meth, I am gonna fucking
Right?
kill you.
I have ran and checked everyone with a 320 number's house. I've done so much meth. No, but it was fucking terrifying because he's like yelling at us and
Like
But
the prank call got reversed. You
Yeah.
got pranked by the prankee.
yeah, we thought we were gonna die.
Oh
you
man,
know?
he flipped the script on you.
Or like there was another dad in the neighborhood also did meth.
Well, see, the way you got to prank a meth guy is you got to wait till they're smoking meth. You just call him like, I'm right outside your window right now. Come find me. That's how you prank a meth head, man.
I feel like that takes some recon to figure out when they're tweaking. You know.
Well, when you're
Right,
poor, you got
right,
to have
well,
something
yeah.
to do, right?
Yeah, and then God, where was I gonna go? This other dad in the neighborhood, he actually, great parenting here, was showing the kids the pipe bomb he made, and it blew 4 of his fingers off, and then he went to prison for a while.
In front of the kids, and they
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome. See, that's a good. I wish I had a memory like that. That's
Or like it was so like how like all the sketchy houses back there were, but like how they were. But like when we got to hang out back here, like my parents let us do that. And I don't think they knew they were doing meth most of the time, but we thought, their kids were at least good enough
right.
that we could not get in trouble back there. But it was like just the shittiest block ever. It was like house, all gravel, house. So it was like one big backyard driveway parking lot. And it was like all gravel.
And that
There
was your
like
fun
beer
zone? Is that-
Yeah, we just do whatever the hell we wanted. But that's where all the sketchy people live too. That's
Right.
The last 2 dad stories were.
It's always
Well,
those
right
poor
next
areas.
door.
There's not a lot of like super nice playgrounds and parks and things like that.
No, there was one park.
But it's like
It was,
the
it was
shitty
like
one.
2-3 blocks away. Where people would go to, like they would fight there. There's a fighting park.
Everything you're saying is so relatable. It's so poor white trashy.
right.
I
The
love it.
pea slide.
Right?
There's the tube slide that we'd pee down. Which looking back on, that's just a dick move.
You ever
I
do it in
was
the
just-
summertime, like when the sun's been beating down on
Yeah,
it, and it
like,
steams a little bit?
Literally,
'cause
whenever we're
metal's so
there,
hot?
I was just peeing on that slide. I feel so bad. You know, my kids probably just slid down my piss.
Right. That was the thing. I mean, leave a puddle at the bottom so that the little kids get fucking landed.
Right? Like, fuck you, little kid. Why would you
Right?
come to my park with the pea slide?
Oh man.
Yeah, that was probably the only playground in my neighborhood. Yeah.
Right. Hold on. What was one of the other stories? Oh, you wanted me to you wanted to tell me about Brady's neighborhood.
Okay, so Brady's neighborhood was,
Who's Brady first? Is this
yeah, Brady he went to elementary with my brother, and he was friends with my brother, and so we would I think the summer when I was in 3rd grade, they must have been 6th going to 7th.
okay?
Brady lived probably 3 miles away across town in like another shitty neighborhood, but these were more like all apartments back here. So like some of them had. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked here. So yeah, that whole summer we would bike across town to Brady's and just do whatever we wanted.
Is this like another shitty neighborhood? Like,
Yeah, like
leave
just-
your shitty neighborhood to go visit his shitty neighborhood.
yeah, where it was a little different.
Right.
But like right behind his apartment, they had this.
How is it different? Is it different types of poor? Because I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it was different types of pour for sure. Like
right. It wasn't like the meth heady pour over there.
Yeah, it wasn't the meth heady pour, but we were never really afraid in the meth heady pour thing. But like this one was a little more sketchy. Like might get beat up kind
Okay,
of
got it.
wise, and that's mainly what happened that summer. We wouldn't get beat up, but like, so what we did a lot of that summer is in Brady's apartment.
I just love the idea of
Yeah.
leaving your poor neighborhood. And I was like, let's not go to the library or anything.
No.
Let's go to another poor neighborhood.
Why would we better ourselves? We can just go do more stupid stuff.
Let's not delude ourselves
Yeah.
with seeing anything better in life. Let's go see another poor place.
So like behind Brady's apartment where we're hanging out, there's this park. It had like a basketball court,
Right.
where we push a picnic table over to in a trash can, and so we could dunk.
Did that.
And then there's like this really shitty playground, and then just some fields, and there's a big fence around the whole thing. And that was, his apartment complex's playground.
broken glass everywhere. and
Yeah,
fucking-
I wouldn't go barefoot in there for
Right.
sure. But like, they had this people in his apartment building, and there was something. So the younger brother, who was probably actually 15, so older than any of us, he had he definitely had some special needs problems. But like at that age, we're like, I don't know,
Like
what that
emotional or
means.
like or slow. Emotional,
I think- yeah,
unstable, or slow, like development.
not very high functioning
Okay, gotcha.
autism. Like he could
So
walk.
this is
and
the guy that
move
was
and hang
leading
out.
your group, right?
No, no, no. This was one of the guys that lived in the building, and he'd be hanging out, and he'd hang out by us, and that was fine. But when we swore, he got really mad,
Okay.
But we still kind of thought that was funny. So like, then we're like, why the fuck can't we swear,
Right.
And I'm not even kidding. One time he took out one of these like little knives. Now there's like a level below a Swiss Army knife. Like it's
Right.
not, that big of a deal. But he started like slashing that at us for swearing. I was like, oh shit. And then like we ran. But he went and got his older brother, Steven.
Right.
And
Was Steven also opposed to cussing? Was that?
no, he was afraid of, he was opposed to people messing with his brother, which we were doing. We were
Right.
just swearing. And then he would come out, and he had to have been like in his, 18, 19, 20.
Okay.
But it, to us then was like a grown man.
Right.
But Steven would come out with this cowboy hat on and this broom handle.
Right.
And he would chase us down for like at least like 20 minutes.
It's better than a knife, I think. But
Yeah.
right.
But just running from someone like that,
Right.
like, and he would not stop chasing you for a while. Like, it'd be a couple blocks before you would get away. So it was pretty exhilarating. And I knew he was going to hit us when he caught us, too, because
Right.
my friend Ricky actually got hit when he got caught. So I was like, okay, Steven's not fucking around here.
I still, so you grew up still in the good old days when you could actually hit each other and
Yeah.
not be like a major thing.
Yeah, yeah, that was always
Maybe it
that
should
was
have been, but
not in those neighborhoods. It would have never been a thing, I don't think.
nah.
But yeah, so we did that to Steven all summer. Well, we didn't do that. That's not how it started. We would buzz his bell, and then he'd come out and chase us for a while. And then we'd go buzz his bell again, and then he'd come out. and
Another classic
yell.
poor activity.
Yeah,
right?
ding dong ditch.
Did you guys, was it the thing where where you'd wait till your parents thought you were asleep and sneak out and do that stuff? Did you ever do that? Like have a sleepover and then like leave at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning
Yeah,
when your parents are good and sleep?
Yes, sometimes if we weren't staying over at someone else's house,
Right.
because then usually we're free to do whatever we want,
Right.
Because their parents don't usually care.
That, see, you're making me think about that now, and like it's just now looking back at it, it's like, yeah, that was like in lieu of having money to do anything with,
Yeah.
having that kind of that release,
Yeah.
sneaking out and doing things you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
That was the best thing. That was our trip to Disneyland, and that was that kind of thing was just
Yeah.
us sneaking out and
God,
doing
that was
weird shit.
exhilarating.
Yeah, it was
Running
fun
from
times.
Steven and all that. And then cops
never-
sometimes for ding dong ditch. But there's this one time I was ding dong ditching Steven. Like I was holding his buzzer, but he wasn't coming out. And like my brother and his buddy are like, they're in the street just watching me. I'm just holding the buzzer now. Just
Oh, you get ballsy with it.
And as I'm looking back at my brother and his buddy, I turn around and there's Steven like fucking face to face with me.
What are you doing?
Shitting my pants. That's the next thing in the chain of events. No, I booked it and got away.
Right.
I think I was too little for him to actually beat up. But
Did you ever do the burning something on somebody's porch, like a bag of dog shit, like the classic kind of hack?
no, we never
Frank.
did that. The guy we thought was creepy next door,
Uh-huh.
we thought was a child molester. I think he was just an old guy that liked to drink,
Right.
But one time we actually did this a few times that summer. So we would ding dong ditch him,
Right.
and then run and jump like in like the bushes right across the street where he couldn't see it. It was just not really bushes, it was just high grass.
Right.
So then he'd come out and yell for a while and like, oh, you
Trying
guys
to
want to
Leo.
come in for a beer? Which that was kind of creepy, yeah. But
Oh,
I
he
think-
was trying to fuck you then.
yeah, maybe. Or
No
he was
drunks
just
don't
really
give up the beer
drunk.
unless they're gonna diddle you. That's kind of an exchange.
That's true.
Yeah. Did I ever do any? I don't think I did any ding dong ditching. But we did like which is another bad thing to do if you're poor because toilet paper is a commodity. But we toilet papered homes and
Oh yeah.
did that. I know my I lived with my aunt briefly, and her older daughter, like me and my buddy, he came to the night. We stole her tampons, or not tampons, but the pads with the little stick thing on it. Again, we would go to cars and like stick them on cars, and I got in trouble for stealing her pads and then sticking them on cars. That was a poor activity that I did.
Yeah, probably made your aunt a lot poorer. Aren't those things pretty expensive?
Right? I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, I've never actually.
I didn't think of it at the time. I wasn't
Yeah, no.
trying to
nothing
rationalize.
has a price.
I was just trying to put maxi pads on people's cars. that's
we
good
would do
memory.
we would do like spitball wars,
Oh,
but we'd
yeah.
have to walk to the Taco John's that was like a block away to get straws and
Right.
shit and like napkins. They didn't. I mean, we just walk in, grab some straws, walk out. I don't think they ever actually said anything to us.
Right.
We just have spitball wars around the block.
Did you ever do it with BBs? We did it with BBs. So I could
Yeah, once we did some BBs. We had to. Well, there's only a couple people had BB guns though, so that kind of sucked. And I remember in 5th grade, I got into airsoft.
Okay.
So we'd have big airsoft wars around, and that was always really fun.
See, I missed that generation. We just had
God,
BB
that
gun
was
wars.
fun.
Like we would just like single pump
Yeah.
war. Like you can only pump it once, and we'd shoot each other with BB guns. It
How many of your friends have eye patches?
right? Lucky none of us. Not that's what I remember. I know we did get. We did. There was a development happening close to where I lived, and there's a few of us that had BB guns. Like this was back in the day. Like you could just be 12, 13 years
Yeah.
old and go buy a BB gun, and they wouldn't give a shit. Like here you go. Here's your pellet gun that could probably kill somebody if you really tried. But we shot up there was like a what do they call it? The backhoe front end loaders, excavator type thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we shot it with BBs, and like did like thousands of dollars worth of damage because we hit all these like little plastic pieces of the breathing apparatus and a bunch of shit and hit all the glass. I remember doing that. That's probably the most destructive thing I ever did.
Yeah, no, it's right up there. I mean, I shot my brother had an actual BB gun. You know, one of the ones that was the more you pump it, the stronger it'll be.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And wait, no, that was Sean's. My brother's was a 1 pump.
Okay.
And one time I shot the window out in our bathroom, and this was like when we were really, really poor too. So that
Right.
window was just had a hole in it now.
It,
you know,
it might as well have been $1 million window.
right?
Yeah.
Just ruining the like, just no heat in the house. Fucking.
So, where were we at on the timeline? What was like? So you talked a little bit about the losing electricity, and what was food like? Was food ever an issue for you guys as far as having enough food, or types of food that you had to eat, or
We were big. We did a lot of spaghetti.
spaghetti?
You know,
Yeah, classic.
'cause that was
four-person
a
meal.
cheap one.
Did you
Rice.
get meat, or was it just like the spaghetti tomato sauce pour?
We had meat most of the time.
Okay.
I feel like, or at least some veggies that we just throw in my dog's bowl anyway. You
Right.
know. And then rice and butter. Red beans and rice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I remember having a lot of. And people you don't know. I mean, it's like those foods like that you can make a lot of really cheap.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you before we started recording, it's like I can remember eating that for a week at a time. It was red beans and rice, just because it was so fucking cheap and easy to make, and you get a lot out of it, and it was nourishing. I mean, it was it was a
Yeah,
good protein
no,
source,
it's
plenty of carbs
good.
for energy, but
It's
fucking
good.
7 days a week of red beans and rice.
Yeah, it's not 7 days in a row good.
No, it's not. It's never that good.
Yeah, that was, and I mean, we went to the food shelf, here and there when we needed it, but
Was that weird to you the first time, or when did you realize that that's not something that everybody does?
yeah, I think I was old enough, when we went the first time, and it was weird.
Did you feel shame doing it, or did you feel like
I just,
get some food?
for the most part, all the food sucked. I was like that was my main issue.
Because
Like,
that's what everybody does when it's time to
Yeah.
collect. Where it's like, what do we not eat? All these fucking peas and
Yeah.
carrots that have been here
Yeah.
for 10 years. Give that to
Yeah.
the poor people.
yeah, they love peas and carrots. Trust me. Yeah, it was like every once in a while they'd have some good stuff there, but for the most part, it just sucks. I remember walking in there, I'm like, great, we have the choice of shit and shit. Awesome.
Right.
I can't wait to eat shit.
I remember my dad would go into a food shelf thing, and I remember he would always bring back this box of donuts, and they were always like day and a half old donuts, So it was like the ones that they can't sell at the discounted price. They'd shoot to the bread shelf, so we'd get these like it'd have like almost like a crunch to it, It'd be
Yeah.
like a glazed raised donut, but it wouldn't have that nice chewiness that you get in
Yeah.
a fresh donut. It's always like this is not new.
So there's a level of poor out there. Like there's a level of poor people that don't know donuts are soft.
Right. Maybe your first time having a Krispy Kreme after being poor, that's gonna make you come to yourself.
Oh my god! I
Like,
remember
this
my
is
first
delicious.
time.
These don't taste like old bread.
We just move into Krispy Kreme. Yeah, and food was fine. At that point, and life we got a little more poor later on after my parents divorced. That was basically after they got divorced. There was like a few months where we were paying stuff, and then I think after that is just we're waiting our 6 months to get evicted.
Okay.
So we just had fuck the payments, you know. And
Well, you had a few different evictions. Was there a more eventful eviction story of the three? Did you ever get as bad, like the sheriff had to come, like, look, we're going to take your shit out of this house, and you have to go find someplace to go?
no,
Never
not
that
bad. No.
Never had that happen to me. I've had it happen to a friend. That fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're home, regardless of how meek and humble it is.
Yeah.
That's your safe zone, you know? And to just a guy with a badge, like your parents didn't pay the bills and we got to take your shit out and you're on your own. That's going to feel like fucking shit.
Yeah, I'm glad
Never
that
been that poor.
No, the people across the street from us that their parents were they did meth, and then there's probably 5-6 kids in that household.
Jesus.
And they
All
got
their
evicted.
kids?
Yeah, they were. It was they were step siblings. There was like one pack from the. It was like the Brady Bunch, but really
The
shitty.
meth version of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. It was.
It was a bunch, but not a bunch of
Yeah.
teeth, is what that
Yeah.
was. That was holy shit.
But yeah, then they got evicted, and then that summer the parents slept in the van that my dad sold them super cheap.
Right.
They slept in the van like right next to the house for that summer because my mom didn't want them in the house, when they're doing meth and shit. But their kids all stayed in our house. Like that summer, we had probably 10 kids sleeping over on a regular basis.
Jesus.
It was actually really
10
fun.
poor, stinky kids. That's
Right?
probably what it is.
Yeah, we brought our mattresses downstairs into the living room, and
Right.
we had 3 couches people could sleep on. And then all of our mattresses on the floor, and everyone just found room. And
Kids are amazing. Like, you get running water and electricity.
Right,
Wow,
yeah.
you're rich.
Boom. And,
Right?
We had a TV too. It was one of the old tube ones, but it was a good size one, I remember that summer it was actually pretty good. We'd go to Avon Beach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's about 25 minutes outside of St. Cloud. And then we'd go there all day and come back, and we'd all just watch Family Guy, like in my living room. That was
Nice.
a lot that summer. That was a good summer.
He's reminded me of 2 poor stories. Here's one we did. We were really poor. This was back in the red beans and rice times. And I remember me and another kid, we had found a bunch of garbage that was kind of in between our 2 houses, mobile homes where we lived, in between the 2. And we were told to go pick it up because somebody just threw it out there. And one of them was an empty bag of McDonald's. So it was like all the wrappers, like the fry thing and the burger wrapper inside the McDonald's bag. And I remember opening it just to smell McDonald's. Like, because I wasn't eating, McDonald's is cheap, but we still weren't going to go eat that. We were eating red beans and rice. I remember opening the bag and like huffing it like I was huffing glue just so I could get the fucking secondhand McDonald's smell. I remember that. What was the other thing you reminded me of? Oh, when he said living in the van. My dad, this is like, it's like poor families, they have different conversations with their kids as like wealthy families do, I assume, because I've never been wealthy. But I remember my dad telling me one time when I was like early teens, and I don't remember how we got to the point of the conversation, but he told me, he's like, if times ever get tough and you've got a car payment and a house payment or rent to do, and you can only pay one, pay the car. Make sure you pay the car, because then you've got transportation to work and something to live in.
That makes sense.
And that's poor. I mean, it makes sense because like you can stay in your house as long until they kick you out, but then you've got this mobile house that you can shift to if things get really suck, which has got to be a strange conversation to anybody like in the upper half of the economy. Like, what?
No, I want to.
We'll just buy another house. What are you talking about?
What? No, we'll just like take our savings and just buy one straight up.
Right.
Poor people don't have, or rich people don't have these problems at all.
Right.
It was so hard for me to once I got into junior high and high school and started knowing people with money. It was so hard for me to listen to them complain.
Right.
It was the last time you had sleep for dinner, motherfucker. Yeah.
Sleep for dinner. That is weird. How did they treat you? Like when you in your younger years, when you interacted with somebody who was middle income or higher, was it a positive reception? Did they treat you bad? Was there bullying? I've had all range of experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been look at me. I'm a fucking Adonis. I've always been. I'm just kidding. I've always been one of the more athletic kids.
Right.
So
that probably helped you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. At least get my foot into the door with the middle income
goofy
families.
looking and chubby as a kid, so I was and poor, so that was a horrible combination. But
Yeah, oof.
Right?
How old were you when you first touched a girl?
Oh,
Even like an
man.
arm touch, you know?
That I didn't have to pay for? Ugh,
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
yeah, because
Oh, that's a good question though. What about how old were you when you started banging girls or dudes
Oh,
or whichever?
oh yeah,
We didn't have a pre-conversation about
no,
what you
I
stick your
lost
dick in.
I lost my virginity in the 7th grade. Yeah,
Nice, dude. That's a
yeah.
nice. See, I
Late
don't-
bloomer for my family. My brother lost his in the 6th. He couldn't even bust yet. I
Oh,
was like, "You
Jesus
lucky
Christ.
son of a bitch! You didn't have to bust."
Well, poor sex and better off economically sex is two different things too. Like I grew up again being
Yeah.
poor. I dated poor girls, and like
Yeah.
there was no real expectations. Like, oh, we're gonna go fuck in the park. Okay,
Yeah,
you know that was
Right?
okay.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now, like, in dating, it skews your view of the world. Like, oh, just go fuck. Let's just no, I'm not just gonna go fuck you in a tennis court
Let's
or
go
something like that.
Date, you know.
That's romantic. What are you
You want
talking
to
about?
go on a date and pay money? Are you fucking kidding me?
Right?
Let's talk. You know.
That was a fun thing.
Yeah. No. That was 7th grade because I always hung out with like older people too.
Okay.
So like people in my brother's class, who when I was in 7th grade, they were like freshmen. No, I was in 6th grade. They were sophomores when I was in 7th grade when I lost my virginity. So I'd hang out with those guys, and sophomores in high school, obviously getting tons of tail.
Right.
You know, or at least talking about getting tons of tail. So
Right.
I'm like,
That's
damn,
usually what it is.
my friends are doinking all the time. I got to get in on this doink action. You know what I mean? And then like even like my 7th grade friends, they were like talking about fingering chicks and stuff.
Right.
Like, I remember we were doing this.
That's is good enough for sex back in the day.
Yeah,
Fingering to me was like
making
it
out,
was like the
yeah.
fucking climbing the mountain. Like,
Like,
oh, I had my finger in a vagina, or
Yeah.
at least touching something that smelled pissy.
like I might come for me fingering.
Right. Oh, classic poverty story.
Yeah, man. And then a lot of my friends are talking about like fingering chicks and stuff. So then I was like, well, I gotta get on this action. And then I had a girlfriend who like I knew was like down to fool around a little bit.
Right.
So we dated for a little bit, and then
Do you think that's a symptom of poverty? That because it seems like and maybe it was just a generation thing.
I think you can trace it back to that. Yeah.
Because it just seemed like girls were more
mean-
apt to give up the pussy. You know what I'm saying? But I think it maybe has something to do with like there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have I can't afford intramural sports after school, or I can't do
Right.
anything of value. So we're just gonna fucking fuck. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what it is.
kind of use their body as like value for them. You know. Like,
Right.
I get to fuck them. Well, I'll get to party with them too. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's kind of the
And I think generally
the
speaking,
wink and a nod
yeah.
kind of prostitution. Like, oh, we'll hang out and get some
Yeah.
beers and some
Yeah.
weed.
Yeah.
but
Pretty much. Yeah.
Probably wouldn't give them pussy other reason, but it's not weird because we're
Yeah, I think I don't
consenting.
know, like whether or not they do drugs. I think it's just parenting when you're poor is a lot tougher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, cause you're busy being poor and having kids. Yeah, I mean, I don't have as much time to parent, your kids as
more
a wealthy
exhausted and
family.
things like that.
Yeah, so like they just there's less rules. They get to see sex earlier.
Right.
Less. Like there's pretty much no TV like the filter for us. We could watch whatever we want for
Right.
the most part. Except
Did you-
for softcore
Did you have
porn.
cable though?
Yeah, we had basic cable.
Oh, see, you were high. You were high rich. Yeah, you were like
For- there
low.
was-
I mean, high poor. You weren't
Yeah.
low poor. You
Yeah,
had
there
cable.
was like some periods where we had more money, but then in those periods is when more kids would come over to hang out.
Mhm.
So like our money would go towards feeding those kids, and
Right.
like 20 fucking kids, not 20, but like 10 kids in the house.
Right.
So the money kind of got dispersed with helping out those kids because our house was like the safe place in the neighborhood for everyone to hang out.
Right. Yeah. I didn't really have a safe plan. I think I was more when I went to go live with my grandmother again. I think that was the only the only safe space for me. It's kind of a weird. Yeah. Well, I guess I went and stay with my aunt a lot of times and stuff too, and they were definitely better. My uncle, he worked for Hewlett Packard, so he had some money.
Nice.
You know, okay. And I know they had cable. You just go there and just be mind blown. Like I just
Yeah.
zone out because I just couldn't comprehend all this information coming out from just cable. This was before
Yeah.
pre-internet and all that everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're a little older than me, so it's probably a little easier to get cable for me.
Yeah.
But
And let's give it away now. Pretty much.
But yeah, after we we got that feeling too. Like when we moved in with when we got evicted from our first place, and then my mom and my three siblings, we moved in with my grandma, in like the house she ran a daycare out of. So because she ran a daycare out of it, there was always good food. I'm talking like Schwann's pizza, the cheesy garlic bread you get from
Schwann's.
school. Schwann's pizza is the best frozen pizza
Dude,
you can
Schwann's
buy.
food in general, I don't. It's I mean, that's a cultural thing too, man.
Yeah.
But you felt like you were getting something when
Yeah.
fucking Schwann's stuff pulled
Yeah.
up. It could be the same kind of shitty,
Drumsticks.
ice cream that you get at the grocery store, but it felt different when this fucking truck of
Schwann's.
magic food. That was probably what the angle what it was. This guy, everything I want to eat is in this truck.
Yeah, I would run a heist on a on a Schwann's truck. Like
Yeah.
not a poor people house. I'm talking like Ocean like 11 heist
Right.
on a
Get a
Schwann's
whole
truck.
truck.
Yeah.
Just walk away, dude.
I get 5 of
That's
those
fine.
pizzas. It's worth it.
Yeah, man.
God, those are good pizzas.
What was the other things that were good? Just the dreamsicles, the little orange
Yeah.
push-up pops.
Oh my god, and the
That was
chocolate
crack,
ones
dude.
too.
That was
Oh,
fucking crack.
I'm gonna have to get a Schwann's account or something or however
Right.
that works. But yeah, my grandma always had Schwann's because she ran the daycare, so that's how she ordered food for the daycare.
Right.
Before she switched to Appards, which is lower quality, but whatever. you know,
What was that one
cheaper.
called?
Appards.
Is it the same business model type thing?
Yeah, sell frozen food like that.
And they come to your neighborhood type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it was less milkmanish.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Schwann's is pretty milkman-y, I feel
Yeah.
like. But then she switched over to that company and they were cheaper, but they, I mean, we still had a bunch of food. It was good. They're both good companies. If either companies are listening and want to get me in trouble, please don't.
You reminded me of another poor store. I stole milk. When I lived in Boise, they still had milkman deliveries, right? And this local dairy would bring like bottles of milk, put it on people's steps 3-4 o'clock in the morning, so they have fresh milk at their house. And I remember getting up early one day. Me and a guy, we would go steal milk and just to drink the milk. I don't know if I had to do that or if I was just being an asshole, or I thought that was weird, stealing people's milk off their front steps.
Huh, we could figure that out. Was there milk in your fridge?
There probably was. I think it was.
Okay,
more-
then you're just being an
just being
asshole.
a dick. Just keep my poor skills up. Was what it
Right?
was.
I
Just-
gotta touch them up every once in a while. Sharpen that axe.
right. So most of the stuff we've talked about so far are lighthearted kind of
Yeah.
fun stories, but you have a very dark story, and before we talk about it, yeah, things like this happen to wealthy people as well too, and it's not like,
Yeah.
another thing, but it's a little bit different because, as you'll talk about, I mean, the amount of attention or response from things like police may not always be the same if it's
Yeah.
just a poor kid. You know what I'm saying? It's a little
Right.
bit more, okay, hurry up, make the report type thing. So I don't want to badger this or brutalize the story anymore because the story is pretty dark. But can you tell me kind of a little bit about where this started off and who's involved and all that?
Yeah, so when we're really young, I'm talking I was maybe 6, 7.
Okay.
That's when we started hanging out with these the neighbor kids across the street. There's 4 of them living at home at the time, but one was like older and about to move out.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like 18, 19, 20, 25. I don't know. Old people, poor people move out slower.
Right. Exactly.
But,
And come back a
yeah,
lot of times.
you might have
too.
been
Oh,
40,
I'm back for a
Jesus.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then there was this guy. He was like 13.
Okay.
His name was this guy was Josh, and then he had the 2 younger sisters.
Okay.
One was probably 10 at the time, and one was probably like 8 or 9. So we started hanging out with them. Like, my parents knew their living situation wasn't the best. They didn't really know what to the extent was. I think they knew their dad did drugs, but actually, I don't even know if they knew that he did drugs. They definitely know he drank a lot,
Right.
but my parents didn't drink. So like,
What was it? Was it one of the meth guys or? Was
Yeah.
It, okay.
yeah,
That's a hard one to hide, man. That's just there's a stench to it. There's there's usually
we don't. My parents never went over there,
Right.
and like we don't know what the fuck.
Right.
And
You don't often go over and have dinner with the meth family.
yeah,
You know,
no, it wasn't not a lot of dinner parties.
You wanna
going
come over
on
and eat
there.
nothing?
Yeah.
smoke some meth around where our TV used to be before we sold it for more meth.
Bring your change jars. We'll play poker.
Yeah, no shit.
And then, then we started hanging out with them around that age. And then, so it's my older brother. He's 2 years older than me. He would have been, right around 10, maybe a little younger than that. And then I would have been, he probably would have been 8. I probably would have been like or 8 or 9. I would have been 6 or 7. My sister was 2 years younger than me, and then we had a younger brother that was 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
So we started hanging out with this family, and they were fucked up. It was. So their mom died. That probably didn't help them out. But their dad was like a heavy drug user.
Okay.
And then the one dude, the oldest brother moved out. And now so the older brother is this Josh dude. Now Josh, at the time, no one thought anything of it. I mean, there was like a couple red flags here and there. Like he'd say some pretty like crazy racist stuff.
Oh, racist.
But like, so it was like kind of a red flag. But, my mom would just tell us like that, that's bad, yada, yada.
Mm.
And then
anything he did that would allude to what you were getting ready to say he did?
he was just
Anything
weird.
creepy,
Like if you look at him, you'd tell that like this guy's a fucking rapist.
Gotcha.
And yeah, no, that's where I was getting. That guy actually, we found out years later that he molested pretty much every girl like in the neighborhood.
Jesus.
That would like hang out in that group. Like,
Right.
So how their house was set up, their
And
basement
when you're
was
saying you're just not like, hey, I'm gonna go bang this older kid type rape. It was like he like forced himself on.
yeah, like young girls,
Okay.
like not just like I'm talking like toddlers and shit, like
right.
preschool age
Ugh.
people, and he would like touch them and stuff.
Right.
I don't know the full extent of the details.
You weren't there
Never-
taking notes. But
Yeah,
it was
no,
just-
and I never asked either. I didn't.
it was
wanna-
going down some kind of way.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, and he actually, after we had already moved out of that neighborhood, it was probably 4 or 5 years after the fact it happened. My sister was, she started having panic attacks, and that's when, and flashbacks, and that's when she told us that she was molested by that Josh guy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that, that
How
she-
much detail was she able to give you guys as far as
The
did
only
he,
one
like,
that
grab her up, or was it like, hey, come on
is,
over here and
like
look at my dick?
I
or
grabbed
something
her up and probably dick stuff too. I don't know. I didn't ask. My mom's the only one that knows. I don't want to ask.
Right, you don't want to get
Everybody
into the gory details.
But yeah, so then that happened, and we found out about that, and that was really hard for her. But what made it harder for her from recovering that was the fact that they didn't just stop. Like so first when she first figured it, had flashbacks, she tried to file a police report.
Okay.
And they did not handle that in the best way.
So how long of this was after?
This was like 6 years after the
Okay.
fact that happened. She would have been like kindergarten or first grade.
So this time.
Okay, maybe not 6 years, like 3 or 4 years.
So she's like
Yeah.
3 years. She's just dealing with this on her own, right?
Yeah, or
Like
she
it's
was
just in her head, and
yeah.
she's just.
Well,
oh,
she was so young that like she didn't even realize it was a bad thing until she had the flashbacks later. Like she's so young, she's a baby. Like you don't know, or a toddler. That's
Right.
you don't know what's bad.
So what was that time? Was there anything that looking back, you're like, holy shit, that's why she was, besides just the flashbacks and everything, did she have
Yeah,
emotional issues? Did she anger outbursts and things like that? Anything?
I mean, me and her fought like cats and dogs. So like we were fighting basically most of the time. So like I didn't hang out with her
Right.
much, when we were real little. Not really anything I can remember until she started having those flashbacks.
Right.
But when she tried to file the report, she was like a little kid, and they send an adult male police officer to like.
Now she did this on
question
her
her.
own, or did your parents?
My mom helped file a report, and then she got like pulled out of class and went to the counselor's office.
And this was her decision on her own. Like I want to say something now, or was it she
After the
encouraged?
flashback, she told my mom, and then my mom told us, and then when we found out, I just remember it was just like, that was a hard one to swallow. Like,
Right.
we just wanted to go just beat the shit out of that dude. I'm like, no, we're in trouble, yada yada. And he was older, like a lot older than us too.
Right.
But they, like after she filed the report, he got interviewed and all that, and
Right.
no
Well,
charges.
I interrupted you when you were talking
Yeah.
about the cop part of it, though. So that's I think that's
Oh.
an important angle of it. So this is just talking about the mismanagement, because I always like to pick on the cops whenever
Yeah.
I see shit to pick on the cops. But more importantly, this is not how it should be done,
No,
and probably isn't being done like this now. But you said it was a single male cop came over
Yeah.
to take the report.
yeah,
no expert in sexual assault or anything,
No,
just some regular
no,
guy who
yeah.
just gave a speeding
Yeah,
ticket.
and it was so long after the fact that she filed the report, so there's no way to prove it. I mean, they brought him in for questioning, but obviously he's gonna lie
Right.
about that. And the crazy
Their
part
only real
was,
chance was
yeah,
hopefully he would tell on himself.
Yeah.
That's the best case
Yeah.
scenario.
and like
Jesus
the main
Christ.
like he was like my sister wasn't the only person to come forward. There's like 4 or 5 other people that came forward and said that like he molested them, but it was all too long after the fact, and there's no proof. So yeah, this guy's still
Has
not
the
in
law
jail.
changed recently, or maybe this is how? I thought there was no statutes of limitations for anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you got to allow for the, especially if it happens to a kid.
Yeah,
Maybe that's a fairly new law. I don't know. I'll have to look that up after the fact. But holy shit!
Yeah, maybe
But
they
he
just
never
didn't
got.
give a
There
shit.
was there never a formal arrest or trial or anything?
nope. He's never been charged with
Jesus.
anything. But he's had Dewey's and shit.
Right.
But no rape charges, anything like that. And multiple women have like at least 4 or 5 people from my neighborhood that I know of have come forward,
Right.
like and said that he did this, and then like including like one of his sisters too.
Jesus.
And nothing has been done about it. My dad even like called and like talked to the police, and they were like, "Well, you see, with I don't know how it started, but the end of it was like, with people like Josh, he'll just get his eventually."
And this, is it safe to say that all of his victims were not wealthy people, or all grew up in the
Definitely
neighborhood?
not wealthy people. Yeah.
So I'm not just pulling this
Yeah.
out of my ass when I say that cops kind of react. If it was some very high end person
Yeah.
whose dad was like a VP of 3M or something like that, and they reported something, I think it would be a little bit more of an aggressive pursuit, and more funds would be used
Yeah.
to try to prove a case or something like that. But so many things that happen, like, and it's the same like with poor policing and all that, where they people in poor neighborhoods get more tickets because it's just easier to
Yeah.
prosecute them because they don't have legal defense. Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, how hard do we have to try? It's not like they've got a lot of money to come after us as an organization and the police, to do a better job. That's just a horrible pitfall of being poor. It's just the legal system doesn't really want to work for you.
Yeah. No. And the thing was too, a lot with the being poor, like it wouldn't get reported either, like on time.
Right.
Like none of the girls came forward like right after it happened. I remember one time it happened to one of the girls, and she was like a teenager, like his age almost.
Right.
And then she told her brother, and then his brother beat the shit out of him.
Right. That was
Yeah,
that was the only
one.
justice in it.
Yeah, it's like the only justice was like just getting punched. Like, don't rape people.
Right.
Like you need more than that for that.
It's called therapy. No, we agreed to only use his first name,
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah.
This is his actual first name because we're more worried about legal things, or at least
Yeah.
I am. I don't want anybody to ever get in trouble for being on this podcast saying something that some rapist guy could turn around.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like the worst? Is like he walks on all these rape things, but then he's still able to turn around and sue somebody because he talked about his raping.
I shit you not. They tried to get my sister in trouble for defamation of character. I didn't even know how they knew that legal term, to be honest with you.
You're making this rapist look really bad by talking about his rapes. That's the argument. But he's still living in your kind of hometown area,
Yeah.
still a
Yeah.
functioning member of society, as it were, and nothing's. I mean, does the area of town? Do those people like give him shit? Is he?
There's not a lot of people left from that area, and I don't think there's anyone from when I was growing up still living in that like 2-block radius. But yeah, I don't know. His dad just straight up denies him and has his back about it. His dad's also a huge piece of shit. Like what they would do after my sister filed the report, they're obviously mad she filed the report.
Right.
So like when they'd see her like the county fair or something, they would like stalk her, like follow her around.
Intimidate her.
Yeah, and then they'd
Because that's how you teach your kid not to rape people, is like teach
Yeah,
them how to threaten witnesses.
right.
Holy fuck, dude.
Yeah, it was fucked
Is the
up.
dad still alive?
As far as I know, I saw him. So both of these guys, terrified of me.
Right.
Because when I was going into my sophomore year of high school, I was 15. He must have been like 23, 24, maybe even 100. I don't know.
Right.
But no, I'm just kidding. He was, going into my sophomore year of high school, he found out where we lived. So he started walking by to scare my sister,
This is
You
the
know.
dad or the kid?
the son. So
It seems like if you get away with a dozenish rapes,
Yeah.
you want to just fucking chill out a little bit.
right, not and do that shit. And so we warned him like one time. One guy warned him on one occasion. One of the guys that was living with us, one of my brother's friends, and then my brother warned him, or I warned him on one occasion. One occasion, I was like, I yelled at him halfway down the street after someone told me he was walking by. And I was like,
This is a rape dude free
Yeah.
zone.
right? Yeah, you walk by here, gonna beat the shit out of you,
Right.
And then one time, I remember it was like, late midsummer evening, just hot as fuck. Me and my mom were inside watching A Time to Kill with Samuel Jackson,
Perfect.
right?
Primer.
Right? And then I hear some shouting outside, and it's the rapist, my older brother, and then like two of the rapists, like big junky friends. Like these are like bigger, heftier dudes, And
These are his buddies?
the rapist buddies, yeah.
Okay.
And then I see like that rapist guy push my older brother, so I just like run at him, like just blood in my eyes,
Don't rape my brother.
Yeah. Just fucking ran at him, and then like he like dug down right away. And I
Right.
just started like hammering his ribs, like the side of his head,
Nice.
and then I pushed him over the curb. And because I'm blaming it on wrestling here. I got
Right.
him in like a reverse half Nelson,
Nice.
so I couldn't even punch him in the face. But then he had my head down too, and then I was punching him in his ribs. And then my brother goes up to him, like kind of sticks his fist in his face, and is like, "All right, we're done now." So like they pull me off, and as I'm getting pulled off, I give him a good one right in the side of the head.
Nice.
And then he walks a block away and calls the cops.
All right.
And then the cops come. I got thrown in the back car. Back of the cop car. I ended up
And
getting.
of course, the cops were on
Yeah.
his side in this thing. Like,
Yeah,
you can't be
what-
beating up the rapist, sir. It's
right.
it's illegal.
Like I was like, guys, he's a rapist. But yeah, I got a disorderly conduct.
But you get your pound of flesh too, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, I got to beat the shit out of that guy, and he's scared of me for life.
Nice.
Like I saw him and his dad at the grocery store one time, and I wish I would have done more, but I stopped as I was like,
Which grocery store do rapists shop at? Are they a Cub family?
Yeah, they're Cobrans actually.
Really?
surprisingly. Yeah, I don't think they shop there,
That's pretty high.
but they're
end,
definitely picking up some smokes at least from Cobrans.
Right.
But I was walking out and he was walking in. I just stopped and stared at him, and he's just shit a bag of bricks and just got real wide eyed and twitchy and just
Right.
walked by, And then his dad was like in the car waiting, and he was like staring at me. And then I walked by and I just did a nice finger gun thing,
That the rapist aside, it's so because that tells me that maybe the dad's like, okay, it's cool to be raped, we just can't get caught.
Oh
Cub.
yeah, I'm sure his dad's also
But-
rapist, yeah.
That's so weird to have that kind of reaction. Like, I'm going to defend my rapist son. That's
Yeah.
so-
Their
so
oldest
strange.
brother,
Uh-huh.
he actually is a pastor somewhere.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he knows about his rapist brother, but
Right. I'm sure he's thoughts and prayers for him.
right, yeah.
Holy shit. So, and only tell me what you're comfortable telling me. How is your sister doing now? Has she gotten some professional help?
Yeah, she's in therapy and all that. She's doing better, but she's real tough. Like
Right.
when she got when they wanted to charge her with defamation of character, that was because she has got the biggest balls in the world, and she like printed out a bunch of pictures with that guy's face on it, with rapist and his address and all that,
Good for her.
and went to.
It's cool, man. Let it out. See, it's weird when you have these conversations about things
Yeah.
that you've had in your head for so long, and the power of the conversation of reliving it and thinking about it. It's emotionally. I understand, man. So feel free, let it go.
She like made these posters, like rapist, phone number, all that, and posted them around his neighborhood.
Awesome.
She had her friend knock on his fucking door to.
Right.
Fuck.
No, let it go, man. It's all good. Everybody listens, understands that we're having a conversation about real shit, man. But good for her. I mean,
God, she's fucking tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Then
How did that? Was there any reaction from him? That there is.
Actu-
Is that what the defamation was for?
yeah,
those
for
posters?
posting
Okay.
all those posters. And
Gotcha.
then, well, what happened was the junkie dad came out and started yelling at him and threatening him. And so their neighbor at the time was some other poor people that we knew.
Right.
And So this guy, he was the baby daddy to the rapist's little sister.
Okay.
And like he liked them for a while, you know. But then he found out that he's like a serial rapist. So now baby daddy doesn't like grandfather and the uncle of his kids, but they lived right next door to each other.
Right.
So when that junkie dad comes out yelling at my sister, the other guy that doesn't like them come out and he's like, he ain't gonna do shit to you.
Right.
Yeah, just threatening the dad. And then the dad went back inside because he was terrified of that guy.
Holy shit, dude. That right there. I mean, your whole life story is interesting and lots of ups and downs, but that's wild, man. And like it going. I hate to hammer back onto it, but it's such a thing. I mean, if your wealth level is a certain level, people care more.
Oh, for sure.
And there's more people are going to do things because they don't want to offend the rich people. They don't want that to come back on. And it's horrible that there wasn't more. Just the whole start of it. Just just no professional person who's does interviews of victims like that. Much less not being a female. So there's at least that little degree of comfort there. I would assume it's more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's more comfortable. Is your sister? Is she happy now? Is she feeling better? Is she? Said she's getting help and things like that. I mean,
yeah, she's doing better with that that whole situation for sure. Like she can openly talk about it.
Right.
I mean, this was right around the time she was having like flashbacks and panic attacks too. But she was able. They were doing like a sexual assault thing in town.
Okay.
And it was like an open stage to go tell your story. So in front of like hundreds of people.
Did she
at this
drop
thing.
his name? Tell me she dropped his name.
I hope she did.
Holy shit!
It was a while. It was a long time ago, but she
She-
like told her
it's
whole
like Clown's-
story.
Not a big
Yeah.
town, it's
No.
not super big,
Yeah.
so people know people in there. So, holy shit!
Yeah, it was.
Like I said, I won't use his
just
name on the intro or the outro, but I want to have you tell me his name out of the back so I can send him a link to this episode. So if anything else, he can at least maybe listen and get an idea for how destructive his actions were and how fucking lucky he is that he's still walking around.
Yeah. God, I hate that. Even seeing his face like pisses me off. Like he looks a little bit like Malfoy,
Like
like
who?
facially,
Who?
like a young Malfoy.
I don't even know the
Draco
reference.
Malfoy from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
shit,
he looks like a younger Draco Malfoy. And like facially, so it really made me fucking hate Draco Malfoy so much. Like
You ruined the Potter movies for you.
I think it
what
maybe enhanced them since he was the bad guy, though.
Might be
but,
alright.
Yeah.
What a beast.
But yeah, no, she's doing good. Actually, she just had, she had another really hard thing happen to her recently. When she was about a week before her due date, she had a stillbirth,
Okay.
and that was fucking tough.
Right.
For her, obviously, you
Because I'm sure the baby
for-
was going to be is a point of joy, so it's nice to
Yeah.
find like, okay, finally I'm going to have something,
Yeah.
good. Like, I
Yeah.
hate kids, but some people really like
yeah,
kids.
like they were really excited
Right.
to have this baby, and then all of a sudden, they were up in Duluth, and the baby was kicking around the morning before, or that morning, and then just right around noon it stopped moving. So my sister went in, and they did an ultrasound up in Duluth,
Mhm.
and they found out that there was no heartbeat. So then that's when
You're good, man.
So that's when my sister found out that the baby was dead.
Right.
When my niece was dead, and I'm glad I didn't have to see that.
Right. Kind of a double dump of just emotional stuff.
Yeah, god damn it. We should have talked about the radio beef, man. I'm not crying for that.
It's all right, man.
Fuck.
It's all right. I appreciate you having the conversation with me, and this is kind of like what I want to
Yeah.
do with this podcast.
Yeah,
is
doctor
finding-
patient confidentiality. Doctor
Yeah.
patient listener
just me and
confidentiality
a
here.
few hundred people a day
Yeah.
listen to this. No
Fuck,
big deal.
man.
But it's the power of emotion,
Yeah.
and the whole premise of the show, is to find unique and interesting, sometimes funny, sometimes tragic stories that we,
Yeah.
fellow people here in America,
Yeah.
man. And this is, we don't have like a baseline of life and existence,
Mm-hmm.
whether in this country or this planet. So everybody's lives are these just ranging ups and downs and highs and lows, and some people have a whole lot of highs, and then and sadly, people who are in lower economic end have a whole lot of lows, man. And I think these are all stories like you're sharing right now, and I can rattle off all kinds of other bad, poor life type stories. These are the things that we need to consider when we bicker back and forth about politics and policies and what things need to be funded and what things need to be funded. It's perspectives are unique to everybody, and obviously, so if you don't see it, you don't live through this type of stuff, you don't understand the sometimes the despair and sadness and struggle that being on the lower end economically. And it's not that these people are making bad decisions. Sometimes it's just bad breaks. But I don't know, man. Your sister, she's not guilty of anything other than just trying to live.
Yeah,
and trying to have a life.
It fucking sucks. She's had a tough ride for sure.
And you had mentioned, and kind of illustrating a little bit what I'm saying is, you guys were always on the low end, so you had a lot of free health care, right?
Yeah,
Provided
that definitely helped.
Right.
Yeah.
So could you imagine not only it's going to be lack of health care if you didn't have that, but just the additional stress on your family unit.
Oh yeah, we've been
if you couldn't just go and say, hey,
Yeah.
look, my sister needs some emotional help.
Yeah,
And
and once we got on the EBT food program too, that helped a lot.
Yeah. Nothing
But,
worse than being sad and not having nutrition.
Right.
That's a horrible combination.
I mean, you can fall asleep full pretty easy, but you can
Right. So
when you have sleep for dinner.
Right. So let's wrap up this in this way. Now you don't have to tell me where you work at, but you have a professional job now, and you're making a decent income, enough where you can afford to do comedy on the side and work on that. So how does that affect your life? Like looking back now, are you affecting your decisions as far as the choices that you make, and then also like your worldview choices? I mean, you have this whole history that, like we just talked about, some people just don't have and don't have this experience. What's your worldview now?
Well, I mean, as far as like directly impacting like how I act now, like growing up poor was, like I definitely feel for poor people. Like I'm not just gonna brush off someone because they're like white trash. Like when I was working at a liquor store, there's this couple that would come in. They are clearly pretty poor. They had the smell to them and the look.
The
and,
poor odor, right?
Yeah, the musty smell. And,
you know how you tell when somebody's really poor? They smell like Irish Spring. That's the poor people soap.
yeah, because you can get it for super cheap at Menards.
At the dollar store, Menards, all that stuff.
God,
I remember always
everywhere.
Irish Spring is in my nose, man. It's my poor soap.
I thought it was a good soap. I thought it was like the same level as like Axe and
They
shit.
imported this shit from Ireland, apparently.
Right? Yeah. You guys you enjoy your American fragrance, you peasants, But then everyone in junior high had like Axe and shit. And I'm like, this smells like Ireland, guys.
Right?
Fuck. God, junior high is when I realized, though, that I was actually pretty poor. And
Right?
stuff like that wasn't normal. Like, Mom, I went to Tommy's house. He had a fucking pool and chocolate milk.
Right.
Or
when you see somebody drive to school in the car their parents bought them that's worth more than your mobile home two times over. That's an eye-opening thing. Like, holy fuck, I could live in that twice.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have noticed this when I was younger, but a good first, indicator when you get into junior high from like elementary school where everyone was poor, to junior high where there's some rich kids mixed in. There's like some super rich. The buses are a lot emptier going to junior high because there's less poor kids. There's more rich kids getting dropped off by their parents.
That's right.
Like every bus in elementary was packed because everyone's kids took the bus because no parents dropped them off.
Right.
But there was 20 people on a bus maybe in junior high.
Right.
And that's not the big. It's not like a huge indicator, but looking back, it's definitely something that might be. I just thought of that just now. That's not like. Yeah, or just hanging out with other people and like bringing like rich friends to my house.
Right.
I can't believe I ever did that. Like,
I
how
was embarrassed.
stupid of me.
I was embarrassed. I knew. I realized that before I did it. So what was it? Was it like afterthought after it already brought them in, and they're
like a couple of years later, or at least
we were like, what is this? Is this like your
Yeah.
shed? Is this where you guys keep your tools?
well, like when we were when I was
Is
thinking
this where the help gets the lawnmower when they come over to mow the lawn?
Yeah. Oh, cool garage, man. No, but I remember this one time, I think it was like a sophomore year of high school. We had just taken over my grandma's old house that she ran daycare out of. It was like a 3-bedroom upstairs. And then we converted the basement, the shitty ass basement, into a bedroom back in the corner. So when you walk down the basement, it's these old, nasty, creaky stairs.
Okay.
And then there's you turn to the left, there's just a table full of laundry that needs to get folded, and just socks, random socks all over the place. And then there's a couple cabinets, shitty bathroom that I can't even explain how shitty that was. Fucking gross.
Right.
The drain would get clogged, and then it would shoot up from the floor drain.
All right.
Just this old ass shower water.
I
The
know
sink
exactly.
never turned off. That
Right.
was
It was
just
a constant drip.
Yeah,
Yep.
for the 3-4 years we stayed there.
Single pane windows. When the wind blows, you can feel it come through the cracks of the windows. Yeah.
No, because we didn't have the legal egress windows you had to have our basement room. We just. But it was the coolest room because you had the most privacy.
Right.
And that was my brother's room when we
So you
first
go down
moved
there
there.
and have wealthy fantasies.
Right.
Downstairs. Think about where you could have been.
The fantasy of having your own room.
Right.
Yeah, that was my brother's room at first. So before he graduated high school, went to college, that's where I'd hang out with chicks, make out, finger bang them and shit, seventh grader stuff. You know what I mean?
Get a good poor finger in that poor cooch.
Yeah.
So
It's weird. It came out smelling like Doritos and ramen. But
Generic
so
Doritos.
then, that was my after my brother left. I took over that room in that
Right.
shitty ass basement. Right, I thought it was a sweet fucking room because it was so private and
Right.
it was nice and cold. And then this one night, I was at a party before I was kind of in with the rich kids,
Mhm.
not in as the other rich kids, but I would get invited to some stuff sometimes. And we got kicked out of
you were
the one
the
house.
charity friendship.
Yeah.
We can have one poor guy. Or we
Yeah,
look like assholes. We can't
He's never
all
going to be able to go on vacation with all of our families, but he's good at
Right.
sports. Come on, So then we get kicked out of a house party, and none of these girls, I'm with 4 other girls, and none of their parents are going to let them come home this late with this many people. I'm my family don't give a fuck.
Come on down to
I know my
house.
mom does not lock the back door, so we can just walk right in there.
Right.
And then I have 5 girls in my one shit bed, no box frame or anything. You can clearly see it's been pissed on,
Right.
because it's old as hell.
So just 5 sets of
Yeah.
Uggs at the front door where they
Yeah.
took them off at.
And I can tell they've never seen a basement like that in their fucking life.
I didn't even know basements
Yeah.
exist.
I still had they're probably surprised I still had a tube TV,
Right.
So then it's just me and 4 girls laying in bed that night. And I
Right.
can't imagine how grossed out they were.
Some girls, maybe they were into it. Maybe they're really into poor dick,
Actually, I've dated
poverty voyeurism, man.
right,
That's the thing.
my senior year, we were this poor we were still pretty poor, but my girlfriend at the time was incredibly rich. She was stupid rich. She
Right.
basically had the YMCA in her backyard. The house was massive. It was a legit mansion.
Right.
In the basement, it was just her and her mom that lived there. So in the basement, they had the coolest man cave ever. But
Right.
it was just used for storage. I was are you fucking kidding
So
me?
do you think she was into you because you were poor exclusively, or was
I
that?
don't even care, dude. She was so hot.
You don't
it
ask
was
any questions when pussy comes. You're
Yeah.
just okay, whatever
Yeah.
the reason is, this works for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and re-up on the rich girl.
But I wonder if
know?
that's a thing, all right? Maybe I missed out by not trying to date more rich girls because maybe there's a guilt factor in there. That's,
Maybe it wasn't the first rich girl I dated. I think they liked that they were above me status wise.
Right. They're giving you pussy as a charity
Right.
move, right? That's
He really
interesting.
needs me, kind of thing.
I'd have no pride. I would take it too.
Yeah,
oh,
I mean, yeah, that's a
it
fair
does make
point.
me feel better.
I probably wouldn't have broken up with her for anything. So that's probably a fair point. Are you kidding me? Get married into this family?
I always wondered if because you can make rich people spend money on anything, right? If you could do a poverty boot camp where you sell the poor experience, they got to come stay in your pre-set up mobile home, and they got to go through all the poor shit. You got to have your ramen noodles.
Yeah.
You got to eat the ramen noodles. You got to have, you got to get phone calls every 5 minutes from a bill collector and somebody knocking on the door for the rent. You go through all the
Yeah.
experiences. You could sell it as it's fun. Huh? You get to pretend you're
Yeah.
poor.
It's like Survivor.
Right. Survivor
in
for
America.
poverty, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or the old
God, is
not
that a
being able
TV
to
show?
open the
Maybe it's
fரிய
TV.
very often because
Right.
the power's out and you got to. It's basically.
Oh, yeah, you got to
cooler
keep the
with no
cold in
ice.
there. The
Yeah.
lights aren't going to be on tomorrow. We got
Yeah.
to get the thing closed. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Oh,
there was.
shit.
When we were living at my grandma's house, though, when or were you trying to wrap this up?
No, well, yeah. If you got something else to say, go. I mean, I'm not gonna.
Oh, I got
Catch you up.
fucking stories for days, man. But we don't. I mean, I can keep going if you want.
Right.
But,
Tell me your story here. We'll end on this story.
Well, fuck. That one's kind of lame for an end story.
Well, what's your end story? What's your?
Oh,
You
man.
give me your most powerful. Something you got something like positive, like a happy kind of war story. A happy war. A memory like that. I'm trying to think of what my happy poor memory. And this is not really so much of a happy. Did you guys also get the donated toys for Christmas? Did you guys do that?
Sometimes, yeah. They saved a lot during the year for Christmas too.
Right.
But sort of shit was usually, it wasn't the cream of the crop by any means, but it was usually, not donated.
Well, here's the worst thing, because like after my mom died, I lived with my grandmother for a little bit, for like 4 years, and my grandmother, she spoiled the shit out of me, right? Like on my birthday or whatever, I remember one birthday, dude, I got just tons of GI Joe toys. I got the Sky Striker jet, right? And I got all the I was really into GI Joe. I got all this shit, and then like after she got sick and I had to go back and live with my dad, like fucking holidays just went from like,
yeah,
way up here to way down here as far as quality return. And I found out after the fact it was because I was getting fucking donated toys, right? Like before I just asked.
At your dad's or your grandma's?
At my dad's.
Yeah.
My dad was divorced. My grandmother was all right. And like I would just ask her for like, I want this and this and this, and this and this and this would appear. So like I thought that shit just would translate
right
to dad, living with dad. I was like, Dad, I wanted a remote control car. And what I got was like this fucking car with the batteries that you turn it on and it's got the little wheels and it just goes back and forth. And like there's no fucking control. I'm just watching.
Right.
This is not a remote control car. And
I am manually controlling this car.
Right? I was mad at him too. I remember I was like, this is not what I asked for. What's the problem here? And then he finally broke down and told me, these are donated toys. It's just, I can't afford it. Like, oh, okay. And then I felt like a dick. But it was a weird experience right there to go from that change.
Yeah, no, they definitely to drop like a little bit.
Yeah,
income. It's
yeah. Those fake toys is what those are, like the direct from China that kind of look like other toys.
Yeah, I swear to God, I found
it's not Transformers, it's Transmorphers. Some weird shit like that.
Yeah, like I had these guys that look like Masters of the Universe, but they're like off-brand, so they just look like jacked Jesus.
Right.
Yeah, those are tight.
Jesus.
But I also had like Master of the Universe toys too, because I thought my uncle was like the coolest guy ever. He's a cool guy.
Right.
Like the time his kids, the coolest guy ever. And he played with Master of the Universe toys. So I was like, I gotta get Master of the Universe toys.
Right.
I mean, there were still retro toys for me.
Right.
At the time, but yeah, actually, as far as Christmases go,
right.
I have my birthday's the day after Christmas.
Oh shit!
So they always just kind of give me my birthday present
double
on
suck for
Christmas
when you're
Day.
poor, because they're gonna fucking maximize that birthday Christmas rule.
Exactly. So I'd like count up, and I have the same fucking amount of presents. Mine was just wrapped different on one of them. It said "Happy Birthday." I just got gypped one Christmas present. Basically, is what happened.
So how about, is that a good? Do you have what's your best Christmas story versus your worst Christmas story? Do you have like a duality play like there between like the shittiest Christmas and the best Christmas?
I mean, we had a couple growing up where just everyone was sick.
Right.
I don't think that's an economic thing, but we were sick a lot. It was just how many people are in your house.
Well, limited health care, limited balanced nutrition. I mean, that's
around more poor people, which are sick.
Right. You're in an infestation. You got meth heads running around.
Right.
Coughing their methy cough all around.
Living in like a zombie type world over here.
Right.
The rich people across town got chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk was like liquid gold back in the day. You can't afford regular milk. What the fuck? You're going to get some chocolate in your milk on top of that. Thing. But then you go to school, you get that free lunch though, and you get that little fucking carton of chocolate milk. That was a little bit of freedom there.
God, oh man.
Right?
I miss that chocolate milk. I was at a high school a few weeks ago. I almost bought a few of those.
Right. Just for the memories?
No, for the milk for the memories, yeah. But I was at the high school doing a recruiting thing. But yeah, as far as good Christmas stories, I don't know. They weren't terrible Christmases. Like, we had multiple Christmas parties we would go to at, like, relatives, so we don't usually make out pretty good.
Well, I lucked out, too, because I was the only kid. So you had how many kids in your family? That were not
Three
just
siblings
visiting
most.
kids?
Yeah, three siblings most of the time.
Oh,
And
that
then
sucks.
my mom had like an oops when I was 15. So he's
oops?
like 9.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's just a little extra baby is what you called. But he's pretty spoiled. Just
I'm
'cause I
not
was-
done yet.
Yeah.
Kick another one out.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I lucked out in that case because I only had,
Yeah.
less kids, so that dollar goes a little bit farther.
Oh man, yeah, and then poor with a lot of siblings too. You really learn to eat fast.
Right.
You know?
You gotta hurry to get that second
Yeah,
portion if
yeah.
you want it.
You know, if you're like second, if you're like later than second to finish, you are not getting seconds.
Right.
You know.
That's such a weird concept to somebody who doesn't. And not against them. I mean,
Yeah.
great if you've always been wealthy. Good. I'm not against wealth, but I bet it's interesting to hear somebody talk about like not having enough food. Like the first time you hear that story, when you're like, what the fuck is that like? I just go to the fridge
Right?
or the
Or there's-
Mexican maid that my dad pays half of the minimum wage to cook for us just
Yeah.
makes us something.
Just yell at my mom to go pick something up.
Right?
Like when I first started hanging out with like kids with more money, I was like, holy goddamn shit, they're mean to their moms.
Right.
This is insane.
Right.
Never say that. Like my parents never hit us or anything. They didn't drink. They were good parents, We had a lot of freedom though as kids.
So, see, my theory is that poor people discipline their kids more because, just like you, just go outside and be vandals. Well, your parents are too poor to do anything too, so they just beat kids for entertainment.
Yeah.
Just that's why there's more. They don't really care about discipline. They just need some entertainment.
Yeah, they're
So they
like,
torment their kids.
well, I could argue about this dumbass thing that you clearly did wrong for 20 minutes,
Right.
or I could just smack you quick. I got better things to do. I'm busy being poor.
Right? Were you? Did you get physical punishment when you were a kid?
No, my parents were real against that. Like
You
other
missed
kids
that
in the neighborhood
generation.
did.
You got
Other
just
kids in our
young
neighborhood
enough.
did, and their parents are like, this is the one family. Well, we had a couple families that moved in from Chicago in that neighborhood, but
Well, granted, probably a lot of those beatings were just because they, the parents were probably thinking their kids stole their meth. And they had to beat their
the
ass.
Chicago family didn't do meth, but they definitely hit their kids like quite a bit for
Right.
just little things, like
Right.
not doing their chore or something.
Do you ever have conversations with like a kid, like as you were a kid, like after he got his ass beat by his parents, and then you tell him like, "Oh, my parents don't; they just hug us."
No, they knew that. Like they,
Right.
they knew my parents would.
They didn't
not
have to
do
bring it
that
up?
Shit. Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's not talk about that.
Yeah,
Okay, let's
like
just
rich
ignore
kids
that.
were mean. Like in my eyes, they were mean to their moms, but
Right.
in like the families whose parents beat them, I was mean to my mom in their eyes. 'Cause
Right.
They wouldn't dare say some of the shit, or like my mom would just get mad at, she would
Right.
like hit me about it.
Such a weird dynamic, man. It really is. So what we're gonna end on? What's your sign off message? What's
Good story.
It doesn't have to be a good story. I mean, it
Oh.
could just be, what you've learned in your life as far as, spanning from the poor. Like we started talking about what
Yeah.
your worldview was now, as far as
Yeah.
understanding and
Yeah.
appreciating the poor experience.
God, that was a long side tangent. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as I just don't judge people on I'm not judging. Like I wouldn't judge like poor people as a whole. I know each situation is different, and I know it can be something very small
Mhm.
that gets you from like prevents you from being like financially comfortable to not.
Right. And it
Like,
doesn't have to be laziness.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
lack of effort. Because there's a
No.
lot of people that go out and try every fucking
Yeah.
day, and they just haven't got one break one way or the other. It's just
like
it's a real thing.
like my mom was a really good or she still is a really good person,
Right.
but she never caught any breaks.
Right.
I mean, she wasn't very good financially, but I mean, we never had money anyway. So,
Right.
but she was like I said, she took in like all the neighborhood kids all the time. Our house was like a safe spot, and that was even after we moved. People like there's my entire childhood growing up. There's always extra kids in the house because my mom would just take everyone in.
Right.
And she.
I think that's something that that's got to shape you too as a person, just to see that degree of charity, from somebody who can't afford that kind of charity.
Definitely. Like there are years we probably would have been okay financially if we didn't have like 8 other kids
Right.
living with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I there's always it was like living in a group home almost.
Right.
Like there was kids there that would be there all the time that I hated, but they weren't my friend. They're like my brother's friend or something.
Right.
Or, we could tell you to go home, but it's not going to be great if you go home.
Right.
So there's like some kids there that would always be there that would annoy the shit out of me. And we'd fight like siblings, and then we get over it. And
Right.
like, there's enough kids living in my house. There was like 2 cliques of kids. Like, that's
You had gang turf wars within your
Yeah.
home. That's crazy. So I think a good end message is, especially because there's so much poverty is such a
Yeah.
big component to a lot of the
Yeah.
drama going on politically, and I hate both sides equally and with a tremendous passion, but the right side it's so weird to me, the right's view of poverty, because so much of the right is fucking poor, right? Like my dad's a fucking hardcore conservative minded person, been poor ever since I've known the dude. He's been pretty fucking poor, but will defend the no tax funded health care and things like that. And as much as I'm anti a lot of government, I'm not any party, but I really like the idea of everybody funding together to make sure everybody's healthy. And that's such a big thing. And your life is a perfect example of why it's so important.
And I don't think that would be like that hard to do. Like, how much do you pay in from every paycheck for your own like private health care? It'd probably be less than that to like get universal.
Right. I think that's just if people, they won't blink an eye about spending money on weapons and so forth. But to me, like, if you want a secure, strong country, wouldn't health be a major part of that? Like, you want everybody to be healthy and fit in mind and body. That makes your country more valuable. As far as
absolutely,
more productive and everything else. To me, I don't know, but I have a GED, so I don't know.
I did a year of school. And I was like, shit's for nerds.
Right? Fuck this school.
I don't need this shit.
Well, thank you, number one, for having the conversation with me at all. But it was, good to have that kind of a, emotional conversation. I think that adds something to the, the big conversation in the world on these subjects, is to understand how emotionally straining that is, even after years, to have to reprocess that and know that that's your life experience that a lot of people aren't having. So I think that I appreciate you being open and having that conversation.
Yeah, no, it was good to air it. I definitely feel like I jumped around a lot, but there's just so much, like, there's so many memories coming back.
Well, that's how the show works. It's just a stream of consciousness, what we get out there. But that's good.
It's like going in one story, like, oh shit, that was that story, and
right. And then all your memories start coming back and wrap. Yeah, that's how it works, man. But thank you, though. Thank you for
thanks for having me. It was a good time. If you listen, just for listeners here, those long pauses I had, I was not crying.
He was gathering himself.
I actually went to go pee.
Right.
And I came back.
A good cry is good. Man. I've had multiple episodes where somebody's telling me their story and I have an emotional react, like 4 or 5 episodes. So that's good. I think we're doing something right.
Yeah.
When you drop your defenses low enough and you have these, that's why I love podcasts. It's like you get these, personal bond, these one-on-one conversations and shit. And these aren't conversations that we have anywhere else anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it was cool
for
you to
therapy, but that it costs money. And shit.
We're poor, right?
I can't afford therapy.
Exactly. All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well. There we go. Another episode is back in the books. Back in the books? That's not how you say that. Another episode is in the books, right? And it's not even a book, right? It's just a digital file. I don't know. Metaphors and sayings are not my strong suit. But there you go. It was an interesting episode for you. It was very interesting for me. It was a fun conversation, right? And full disclosure, oftentimes when I sit down, in my mind, I have a preconceived idea about how an episode is going to go, right? I'm like, this is going to be top tier, boom, 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 huge hits, awesome episode, right? And then someone will say, well, this is going to be a good episode. It's, maybe not one of the best ones. God, I got to burp again. Excuse me. Too much coffee. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. Sometimes I think, well, this is just another episode. We need to have an episode this week, so this is going to be the episode. May not be the best one, but it'll be good, right? And I'll be very honest. I thought this was going to be just another average conversation. I didn't think this was going to be as fun for me to have the conversation, right? And I knew there was potential there, but again, I didn't think it was going to be one of the top charting episodes. And this turned out to be, again, one of my favorite episodes. I enjoyed the conversation. It was very nice to talk to quote unquote Bigfoot about our shared experiences, and it was very powerful. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, it was so powerful to sit across from him, and the man's having tears come down his face, reliving these experiences. And that's something I failed to mention in the beginning. When you relive some of these experiences in life that you think that you're past and that you've grown up and that was so many years ago, but when you sit down and you talk about them and you let that emotion out and that floodgate of emotion wafts over your mind and body, right? You often don't know, or don't expect that to happen, right? You're like, oh, I've thought about this for years. I'm over this, but just having the human to human conversation triggers those emotions that maybe we have beat down or hid or tucked away in our mind somewhere, and it all comes flooding back and it opens up. And I think that's what happened here. So aside from the story being interesting and compelling, right? It's also interesting from the fact of just seeing the human reaction to emotional topics, right? So if you overlook that, appreciate that for a moment, right? The human existence, the human experience, human to human social interaction, that should be amazing to you. It is amazing to me, and it should be. And I think this was a perfect example. And again, another episode I'm very, very proud of. I'm very thankful that quote unquote Bigfoot came and sat down with me and had that conversation. It was so open and was so honest. And I hope you guys appreciate that as well too. Anything else? Again, rate and review the podcast. Go do it. Help me out. Rate and review the podcast. Also, my album. Please go buy my album, Neck Tattoos and GEDs, or The Secret to My Success. It's available wherever you get digital downloads at. Send me an email if you want one, like a physical copy. I can do that as well too. I still need to get that on the website. That's what I forgot to do. Damn it. Anything else? I think that's it. I love you guys. Most of you guys. Some of you guys I don't love. I'll be honest. Some of you guys I do not love. There's some people out in the world, probably not listeners to this podcast, because I figure if I don't love you, you're an asshole, and you probably don't want to listen to this podcast because I touch on too much touchy-feely shit sometimes. So probably not your back. But most of you I love, and all of you, I love humanity as a whole, right? For our failures, aside, humanity as a whole is a pretty good thing. But I love you guys. Please take care of each other. Please take care of yourselves, right? Do something positive in the world. Do something positive to somebody. Just surprise somebody with some positive, right? If it's something as simple as maybe a gas station that you go to all the time and it's always the same clerk that's working there, he or she, bring them a little flower, maybe something like little flowers, right? Bring them some flowers or do something nice, I don't know, do something neighborly for your neighbor. I hate my neighbors. I got some neighbors next door that are fucking dicks. They're like really religious goofballs, and I don't fuck with them. They've actually called the police on me for working on a car in a driveway. Weird. Again, I'm rambling. I love you guys. Take care of each other. Make sure you spade and neuter your pets and children. Spade and neuter them both. Definitely keep seeking the truth in everything. The truth in yourself, the truth in the world around you, the truth of whatever the media wants you to believe. Ask questions about it all. I guess that's it. All right. I'm out of here. I don't know what the next episode is going to be, but it's going to be awesome. And yeah, I guess that's it. Bye-bye.